Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Closer Encounters. I am your host, Clarence Mitchell, coming to you live from somewhere, Minnesota. Would you like to be a guest on Closer Encounters? Or maybe you know someone that would like to be a guest on Closer Encounters. Or maybe you have a story to share. Well, please, shoot us an email. closerencounters.info@gmail.com. Again, that's closerencounters.info@gmail.com. For everything Closer Encounters, updates, all things going on, check us out, www.facebook.com/Closer Encounters Radio. Again, www.facebook.com/Closer Encounters Radio. And please, don't forget to like, follow, and share. Alrighty, hello everybody and welcome back to Closer Encounters. Hey, we made it. We are live on 3 different Facebook streams and YouTube all at the same time. Awesome.
We did it.
We did it.
We
yes.
did it. We did it.
Wow, that was crazy. Woo.
Yeah, that was, right?
Wow. For my first night back, we always have to have something happen and it never fails. Unbelievable. Wow, it feels good.
About.
I tell you what, guys.
It wouldn't be live, Clarence, if it wasn't for gremlins, right?
Ain't that the truth, though?
Yeah, always,
that is the truth.
That's like with me playing today. I was trying to play the audio from, in fact, my intro music didn't play over the right speaker, so it was in the background. And then the same thing happened with, I had to change my camera kept going out. I had to change the latency of my camera to get it to stop going out. Then I had to take my microphone and put it up to the speakers so that people could hear The Law of One playing.
Right.
And normally it doesn't do that, but today I just dealt with it.
That's awesome. Well, I don't know what happened to Rob there. We lost his video.
I'm here. I'm making moves. Moving.
Okay, he's moving.
He's making moves. He's not showing. He's not showing any part of his house on television. I would not either. You show stuff in the background, and people pay attention to that. And pretty soon, somebody's trying to rob you because they saw what you had sitting on the shelf.
Now he gets it.
Right?
Omar is with us in YouTube. He's going to be on, I'm hoping, here pretty soon. But he's having audio trouble. He's got too much noise going on there at his house. He says, Leo, that you're hard to hear.
That's like everybody else can hear me. That's turn up your thing or put on earbuds, bro.
Yeah.
I have my lapel mic and I have to put it up here to my face.
There you go.
If I eat it, any microphone, if I eat it, it comes in loud.
Yeah, there you go. That's what it is you might be a little bit too far away from it, maybe.
It's literally right there at my throat, bro. It's picking up through my neck and the sound waves coming off my voice. It's
He
just
said
Wow.
through my neck.
through my neck,
Yeah.
brother. Well, here, they put it up there like one of those weird, those machines. Hello, I have a hole in my trachea.
Right.
I smoke
anyway.
cigarettes.
I want to welcome everybody. I see we got Scruffy was in, Vida was in, Julie's here. Hello. We got Omar with us. Green Eggs is with us.
Some of the people from my show came over. Hi, welcome.
Yes, Mark.
Melissa,
Mark
she was
Jaycox
at
is
my
with
show.
us.
Yeah.
VJ,
came
hello
follow
dear.
me
How
over
are
here.
you? Wow, look at this. Yeah, Julie, VJ, my mom's in. Hello, Mom. How are you, dear? Glad to see you. Melissa, she's with us.
Yep,
Fantastic. Melissa says she's new. That's okay. Welcome aboard.
Right.
Absolutely. I'm glad you're here. Wow. Great, great, great.
Oh, and those things just go, Omar. He's got a carpet cleaning truck
Carpet
outside.
cleaning truck. Yeah,
And those
right
things
outside
are just
the
turned
window.
on. They're loud. I've had that happen over here too. And they're
Yeah.
loud and they're just going, and you just hear the thing running, and then the condenser hits and the compressor turns on. Oh Lord.
Ain't that something? Oh, I swear, it never fails, especially when you got something you really want to do and it just, there it is.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Green eggs. Welcome, Green Eggs.
Yes, Green Eggs. Good guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect for podcasts.
So yeah,
There
at
you
some
go.
point I want to play that video, and hopefully it'll play properly. If I have to take my microphone and put it up there, I will. But I want to play that video to the world. I was going to put it out myself, and I thought, you know what, Clarence's show is the
Yeah.
perfect place, because you said you were going to put out some stuff and some
Yes.
other stuff. So
Yep.
whenever you want, let me play that so the world can hear what
Okay.
is now confirmed.
Cool. All right. Julie comments, she says, the beard is awesome, Clarence. It's funny. I've been off for like almost 2 months, maybe a little bit more. And this thing has just gotten wild. And I actually thought today I was going to shave it off. I really did. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll keep it. I've never really had it this big before.
It looks good. I was going to say that earlier, but forgot to say it. When I first saw you, I was like, wow, look at the beard, sporting
Yeah.
a nice. Hey, it's getting into winter. Let it grow and do the Santa Claus thing. I will.
Yeah, exactly.
I do it every
Maybe
year. You'll see
down
me
here,
stop
right?
shaving and my beard will just get big.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy, but yeah.
I'm not
Thank
talking
you.
about that because I can't grow a full beard. I'm almost 40 years old, so I'm just going to let that go right over my head. That one.
Well, the secret to that is you have to let it grow out so that the little peach fuzz grows out a little bit, and then you shave it. And then
I've
you
been
let
done-
everything grow out, and you keep
I
shaving
did
it,
all.
grow out.
I did all that. Doesn't
You
work.
you just can't
Just
grow
not
it.
a hairy dude. This is what
I
it is.
swear, the first
hairy,
time I
bro.
shaved, that was it for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have any. In fact, it was funny because I did that. I let it grow out and I shaved it, and then all of a sudden it started coming in. And I was like 18 or 17. And I remember this guy looked at me and he was trying to give me a hard time. And he goes, "And how long did it take you to grow that mustache you got there, son?" And I looked at him and I said, "This took me about 2 weeks." And then he quit his whole act and went, "Really? It only took you 2 weeks?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, how come yours is growing so fast?" So I told him how to do it. And he started letting it grow out real, I said, "You're going to take shit because you're going to have that peach fuzz. You're going to shave it off, grow it back out until it's peach fuzz again, shave it off, and then one day it'll just go woof."
Yep,
And he
it
started
take
doing
off.
that, and like 2 months later, he had a full mustache. He's like, "Leo, dude, give me a high five, bro." He's like,
That's funny.
you saved me. I got a cool looking mustache now." Funny, right?
That's awesome. Woo. Well, anyway, yeah, we got a few things here I want to bring up real quick. One of them, you may or may not know, those who watch Fox News, you might have seen Tucker Carlson on back about 6-7 nights ago, who came out with this disclosure ordeal, talking about how the Pentagon and that claims that they've gotten off-world vehicles. Okay, I feel bad for Tucker. I really do. I'm going to tell you what happened. He really got duped, and I blame him in a way. But then again, there was a backstory to this on how it actually happened. And you know how I feel about the New York Times. I can't stand them. Don't believe a word they ever say. Unfortunately for Tucker, he read an article from the New York Times and he quoted them. And that was part of the quote that he had come up with. Well, lo and behold, the very next day, the New York Times changed their article and put in the actual comments that were supposed to be there. So everything that he read was bullshit. And unfortunately, people got a hold of it and went nuts. But nobody knows about New York Times changing their story. So I got them pieces, and I like to show them to you and show you what happened.
Yeah, do that.
So
because that was they made it's like they baited him.
they did,
Yeah.
absolutely, or
Switch and
whoever.
bait.
I actually covered that the other night when we did the big three.
Did
Did
you?
Yeah,
Ah.
but I didn't know that they changed it either.
Yeah. Well, let me bring this up
Well,
here.
that's
I got to
okay. I
get
haven't
my
been able to
bookmarks.
find it, but I saw a copy of the paychecks that were going out to off-world personnel, U.S. government issue, and now I can't find them. That happens. It's just like I had that CIA agent that gave me the part of the manual for that goes to the crews of aircraft. And
Right.
it was talking about all the theoretical engines that are not actually theoretical; they're actually real. And he told me that these theoretical engines, quote unquote, are actual in use. And he gave it to me, and I read it on air, put it out there on air, and
Wow.
said, "Look, this was leaked by a CIA agent who will go unnamed, and this is what he gave me." And I read it on air, and now I don't know where that is. That disappeared too, but it's still on my video.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. Well, that's just like I got a video of those doctors who spoke out in front of the Supreme Court, and Google and everybody has a concerted effort to delete every single one of them. So now they're deleted off the internet. Why would, and they claim, and I did this whole show just the other day, yesterday, talking about it. They claim that, of course, they're nutball doctors and wild conspiracy theories. And just like today, one of the headlines is that Anthony Fauci, again, with that other doctor, Deborah, whatever her name is, both of them came out and said, hydroxychloroquine does not do anything. And there's
Yeah.
like 500 doctors worldwide who have saved more than 10,000 patients. And
Exactly.
some countries are giving it exclusively to everybody who gets it, but they
Yep.
won't let you know that in this country.
And not only that, but now he wants everybody to start wearing goggles.
Well, that's because he wants this to continue until one of his two drugs are effective, and he
Yep.
gets to make the 100 billion trillion gazillion dollars
Moderna.
by selling it to the whole 9 billion people on the planet.
Until
Yeah.
the Moderna vaccine is done. And what happens
Yeah.
is they actually started testing on humans, and people were getting paralyzed. And then Bill Gates came on, I forget where it was, but he came into another show. I believe it was MSNBC or MSDNC.
Yeah.
And basically he said, well, things are going to happen. People are going to get hurt. And this is what it is. And he's like, and even though 100% of them had side effects, they weren't all major side effects. They were minor, chills,
Right.
cold, until a week and a half later, and people started dying and being paralyzed that they swept under the rug.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right.
So yeah, Julie in the chat, yeah, they're going after. They try to go after Sean Hannity, but he challenges anybody. If you go after him, he'll go, okay, how about you come over here and we'll fight it out, because he's a mixed martial art expert. So he's like, hey, bring it. I'm not afraid of you. And Tucker, they're going after him now as well. They're trying to stifle both of them because they're the last group. Those people on Fox are the only group of people that are defending the planet against the cabal. Everybody else is bought and paid for, 100%. So yeah.
All right,
it's,
let me. I'm going to share screen this real quick, and we'll play the. Tucker
yeah,
Carlson.
and the goggles. Yeah. Yeah, pretty
Let's
soon,
see.
I was just laughing about this, that I'm gonna go and Clarence was in the audience. He was laughing too. I'm gonna get an entire hazmat suit, and I'm gonna go to my local grocery store and just walk in and go shopping wearing an entire
Exactly.
hazmat suit. Want to bet they call the cops on me?
Oh,
And
sure
try
they
to
would.
And they try to take me away for inciting fear, right?
Exactly.
What? I just don't want to get the coronavirus, man. I'm putting everything on. That's what they're trying to do. They want to get us to, because think about it. American companies are making all of that personal protection now. So all
Right.
the PPE stuff is made in America. So guess who makes the money? the federal government. So yeah, they want you buying goggles, they want you buying everything that you can, because that also will extend it through up to the election, which is what they want. The whole
Right.
thing's political. It's bullshit. If you watched any of my shows, I proved it.
It
And
is
I'm
crazy.
going to show you some. Why don't I do that, Clarence? While you're trying to do that, why don't I try and play that video real quick? It's only like a 5-minute video. And
Okay.
this thing here was last night, right? Let me. I don't even know if I have it primed to play. I had it up, but now I don't know what I did with it. Oh, I do. I have it up ready to play. So let me
Okay.
share my screen, Clarence, and we'll
Yeah,
I'll
go
do
right
this real
ahead.
fast. And if the sound doesn't work, let me know, because I'm putting the audio on, but sometimes it doesn't work right. And let me see if this is going to work. Yes, it's up. So if you want to add that,
Okay.
you have to click on it and put me in the.
Yeah.
Put my
I got to
screen
add
in.
it to the stream.
There we go. Okay, so let me play this and tell me if you can hear it. If you can't, I'll put my microphone up to my speakers. All right, so here we go. Can you hear this okay?
Not really, no.
Nope.
All right, hold on. Let me put my microphone up here.
Now, there's a lot of misinformation surrounding the coronavirus. So tonight, we're verifying. Do hospitals get paid more money by labeling deaths as coronavirus related? This is one of the questions you're asking us to dig into.
I recorded this holding my cell phone up to the television, so it's a little choppy. Okay, guys, this is a local news station, ABC 10, which is here in Sacramento, California, the capital of California, and this is what they reported on last night.
ABC 10's Van 2 has more.
Well, it's been a claim that's been passed on through word of mouth and social media, prompting some ABC 10 viewers to reach out. One asking, quote, people are saying that the report of deaths due to COVID-19 are false. People are saying that hospitals are getting funded if they say a death is virus related. Any truth to this? Well, this has to be broken down into parts, but first our source, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, or HHS, which oversees the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. Under the federal coronavirus aid relief bill known as the CARES Act, hospitals get an extra 20% in Medicare reimbursements on top of traditional rates due to the public health emergency. That's for COVID-related admissions, which, yes, can include deaths. The payout amount varies. A Medicare spokesperson said Medicare adjusts hospital payments based on geographic variation in local costs. And earlier this month, the HHS also announced a second round of federal relief for hospitals in high-impact areas, totaling $10 billion. Of that second-round money, HHS says 63 California hospitals received $50,000 for each eligible coronavirus patient they admitted between January 1st and June 10th. That's a combined total of more than $607 million. So yes, ABC 10 can verify that hospitals do get reimbursed for coronavirus-related care, which unfortunately includes deaths. Now, to the second part, does this mean the number of coronavirus deaths are false or inflated? A Medicare spokesperson said it's unlikely. Claims with inaccurate diagnoses, or DRG, would be subject to recoupment and or other potential civil or criminal charges for false claims. So far, it's unverified that hospitals are falsifying records for financial gain.
That's insane.
Right? Okay, and we know for certain. Hold on, I gotta turn my sound down now.
No, you're good.
No, I was getting a reverb from my sound. So we know,
okay.
because of the videos that I've played, the insiders have spoken and actually were in the hospital in New York, and the girl recorded, the nurse recorded talking to the doctors and showed the patients were tested negative for coronavirus, yet the hospital had them listed as positive, and her and the other nurses discussed Why did they take all the coronavirus patients from the other wing and split them up and put them in one in each room with 3 other patients that didn't have coronavirus? Because
Right.
they were giving coronavirus to every single person so they could get $27,000 for intubating and $50,000 for listing them as COVID-19. And then I heard if they died from COVID-19, they got another $57,000. So we know that some, not all, but some hospitals, county hospitals that are poor, that was in New York and this is in California. So they verified that hospitals are getting paid throughout the nation for listing people as coronavirus, $50,000 for each person listed coronavirus. Not
Well,
even
that
whether they died.
explains. See, that also explains why the Democrats passed their own bill, right, the HEROES Act, that gave all that money, or supposed to give all that money, to the hospitals and the nurses and stuff.
Yep.
Now that, there you go. That's another reason why they want that bill passed so bad.
Yep.
You know?
And then, so that shows you that there is an effort by all of these hospitals to raise those numbers. Okay, so, and this is going on around the world. If you saw when I had Michael Feely on, ex-police officer from London, he said he's getting the same stuff from his people over there, the same exact numbers. And then I talked to David Dennis in Australia, and he said, yep, the same thing's happening there. I talked to Peter, who's one of the psychic readers in one of my groups. He lives in South Africa, they're locked down with the military on every street corner, by the way. South Africa
Wow.
is. Yeah, they're in full-blown National Guard lockdown. But he says the same thing's going on there. So this is going on around the world, and the people who are doing this, I hate to tell you if you're a Democrat, but those are the ones that are doing it. That's
Yep.
the same thing that's going on in this country.
Yep.
There's riots only going on in cities that are run by Democrats, only in states that are run by Democrats, nowhere else. The virus counts are higher in cities and states that are run by Democrats than it is anywhere else. Why
Yeah.
is that?
Same thing with the protesters.
And the protesters,
And
right.
the protesters
If you
the
watched my
same
show
way. Yep.
yesterday, I showed you that Black Lives Matter, all of their money is coming from progressive Democrats.
Exactly.
And then
Yep.
they're taking that money and giving it back to progressive Democrats
Yep.
because they're laundering their money so they don't have to pay taxes.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yep.
and I wrote a book about that. It's called How to Get Out of Debt, Surviving the 21st Century. And it talks about global banking, and it talks about how corrupt it is and how it's all fake. And that's
Wow.
why they don't have to pay taxes. So I talked about that yesterday on Orion Rising News. So these people are doing this because they don't have their power right now, and they want their power back, and they're desperate to win the election to get Donald Trump out because he's a nationalist. Look that word up. That means he's for the nation he lives on, and he wants
Right.
that nation to be most prosperous. We right now did have the highest unemployment rate in record, and then it went down to the lowest unemployment rate in the history of our country until the COVID virus. But when it started to open up in June, guess what happened? 12 million jobs popped up in 1 month, but then the coronavirus hit. And I showed you that too, that the coronavirus hit. And when it did,
Yep.
it hit, and all of a sudden the age group went from the elderly to the people between 18 and 35. Who's out protesting all around the world?
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody between 18 and 35. And guess what? And
Yep.
it hit the Hispanic people, black people, and Asian people. Have you looked at any of the protests and looked at any of the pictures? I have that on my page as well. You can
Yeah.
see that. The protesters are always college students, and it's
Yep.
always 18 to 35, mostly 18 to 25, and they're more predominantly African American and Hispanic, Asian, and then white people come forth. Okay, and now all of a sudden that whole bracket has moved down to younger people. The older people aren't sick anymore, and the kids aren't sick, but those people out protesting 50,000, 100,000, 200,000 at a time are getting the coronavirus. So of course the numbers are going to go up. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, let's look at this too. There's another way to look at it. First off, let's look at why these protesters are out there. When kids go to these universities and these state colleges, these professors literally are all part of some benevolent, I forget the name of it, but it's like a benevolent society where they literally put these curriculums together that kind of tell you that America is terrible. They're
Yeah.
indoctrinated from the moment they step foot on that campus. And then what happens is they go out and they protest. Now, the other side of what we were talking about with the hospitals and things like that, look at New York. They were literally taking non-positive people and incubating them or intubating them. Like that's how severe it was.
Yeah.
And this guy now says, our Governor Cuomo says, oh, look, this is the place you want to be. This is the best place to be. We don't have coronavirus anymore. But if you come in from those other places, which is Washington, all the places that would be capital, basically capital forces,
Yeah.
You have to go on a 14-day quarantine now because I don't want you in the state.
Right.
They're warding people off from the state.
Yeah.
So now, like I said, with the indoctrination, these kids go out there and they start going for this movement, right? And it actually starts earlier than that. There's something called that Ocasio-Cortez is a part of called the Sunrise Movement,
Yeah.
which is where they talk about climate change, but they actually transform that to climate justice, where they take these protests and put 14, 15-year-old kids on the front line of the protest getting hammered by tear gas and rubber bullets to take the brunt because they can't be arrested. So if
Yeah,
you don't
I've
see that
seen,
there's an underlying theme in all this, that there's some kind of rooted system that's a socialist party or a communist party eventually is going to try and take a rise. It's like the attack of the red that they
Well,
had.
it's all Marxist. That's what it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Bolshevik.
I
It's all
have, guys,
Bolshevik.
Yeah.
I have in a book right over here. I'll have to grab it. I have a copy of the new Constitution that they paid for here in this state, like 5 miles away from where I'm at, the state capitol. Spent $40 million. I got that from a CIA agent, and he wrote this book. It's called "Behold on a Pale Horse." You can look it up.
Yeah.
And there's a copy of it in there. He talks about the new Constitution, and the first thing they do in there is take away all their guns. And the second thing they do in there, I think it's the other way around, is they say that in the new Constitution, all elected officials across the land in every office becomes a lifetime appointment.
And that's something. Wow.
Okay, so couple that with the fact that they want to open the borders and let anyone in. And the state of California and the state of Colorado have already done this. In the state of California, it doesn't matter if you're from Mars. It doesn't matter
Right.
where you're from on the planet. If you show up here on election day and walk into an election booth and need a translator, they'll get one for you. They can't ask you for your ID. They can't ask you if you're an American citizen. They can't ask you if you voted more than once.
Right.
And you just say, give me a ballot, and you can go in and vote. This is the honest truth. Okay, and then you can go re-register. I know this. People are doing this. Even my brother was watching them. People were doing this, loading them up on buses and taking them from place to place to place to have them vote over and over and over again.
Wow.
Okay, my brother
Amazing.
followed a bus load of people that looked like homeless, and they were putting them all in the bus, and then he got behind, followed them. They went to the next voting place, got them all off, and had them all vote again. Okay.
Well, and that's part of this Corona thing right now too. You know, if you think about it, we're not very far away from Election Day.
Well,
So
that's
what
why
they want to
keep
do
it
is,
the way it is.
yeah, they want to keep everybody locked down and locked in your houses.
Yep.
So you have to do the mail-in voting. Well, we know what's going to happen. It's just like Trump predicted. It's going to be such a fraud. You're not going to know if he won or not.
Well, that
you know what I'm
happened
saying?
here in California, and they're
It's already
suing-
happened in Jersey too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're suing the
Yeah.
state of California over it because some guy who would be 154 years old voted.
Right. Yeah.
And it would have been really cool if he hadn't died 75 years ago.
Well,
They're sending voter
haven't-
registrations to dead people's cats.
Yeah, exactly. And
People dead cats.
they still haven't got the actual votes counted like in New York, right? There was postal discriminations. They came in late. No postage stamps. Hell, they got 500,000 sitting in the post office, not even counted or collected. You know, it's unbelievable. So how is this going to work? I mean, seriously, when you really stop and think
and
about
that's what's holding up the money. The Democrats keep coming out and saying the president wants to take away the money down to $200, so we're not voting for that. That's not the truth, guys. If you guys watch C-SPAN, which you should watch, those are the everything that goes on in the House of Representatives and the Senate has to be televised. Every time you see them going live, we're going to go live, and they're voting right now. They're on the floor. You can turn on that channel yourself and watch it. Most people don't want to because it happens really fucking slow.
Yeah.
Okay, but you can go on there and watch that, and when you do, you'll find out the reason that all of the money is being held up right now has nothing to do with that. The first time the Democrats they said, we'll give you the $1 billion package that you want if on this, when a yes vote means that we open up the borders completely and anyone can come in and vote.
Right.
The president said, no.
No
Then
way.
they said, okay, listen, we'll give you the $1 billion if you allow unregistered aliens to have medical care. What does that have to do with the stimulation? No.
Nothing.
Then they run out to the microphones and they go, president's taking away your money and he's playing politics.
He's a
But
racist.
they don't tell
He's
you.
a racist.
Yeah,
Right.
and
you're
they
all
don't tell you the
racist for
truth is-
following him.
Yeah, the truth
Well,
is
I'll tell you
they're
what,
doing.
guys. I'm going to be honest with you. You know, I wasn't going to vote this year. Because I just, I figured he was going to wind up being president anyway. You know what I'm saying? But I'll be honest with you. If I can go out and vote, I'm going to go vote for him. I'm not going to do the mail-in ballot thing because I don't think it's going to be worth it.
I'll tell you what.
you know,
I voted once in my entire life, and that was for Ronald Reagan in his second term. I have not voted from then until now, and I'm going to vote.
Yeah, you got to. You got to. There's no way we can let this happen to our country. It's just ludicrous.
Right.
And anybody
Welcome,
that
Dave.
don't see it, I'm sorry. You got to open your eyes up and look.
I'll
and
prove
see
it
what
to
the
you
hell's
right
going
now.
on.
I'll prove it to you right now. I've got
Yep.
one more point on this.
Sure.
Just yesterday, the Republicans were fighting with the Democrats. The Democrats wanted to keep the unemployment for $600 a month. The Republicans said, no, let's go 200. Or let's at least give them, we'll cut 60% of it and give them more, right? So the
Right.
Republicans actually came back with a bill and said, listen, so we can't decide on this. Let's extend that $600 for another week.
Yeah.
Democrats said no.
Yeah, no.
But it's what they were
Right.
fighting for
But it's
because
what
they
they're
don't
fighting
want to
for.
relinquish the win to the Republicans, even if it's
Exactly.
just for a week.
Exactly.
That's not looking out for people or constituents
also
anymore.
wanna pass-
That's party politics.
Yeah, they want
That's
to
exactly
attach,
what that is.
They want to attach the mail-in voting across the whole nation to
Right.
this money.
Right.
Right.
And that's why they're holding it up. Over that. It has nothing to do with. Now, here's the thing, people. People that are getting the extra stimulus, they make you think that if you're getting unemployment, that they're going to knock your unemployment down to $200. That's not what's happening. You're going to get your regular unemployment. This is the money that was additional to your unemployment. And that extra $600 has gotten most people making more money sitting on unemployment than when they were working. So when their workers want their company says, we need you to come back to work because we got the job for you. People
Hell
are like,
no.
I have no reason to. I make more money now.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Okay,
the other
that's
point
the
of it.
truth of it. They're not taking away your unemployment down to only $200 and starving you out like these people are trying to tell you. That's a lie. That's
Right.
a lie, and they're gaslighting you by saying that. Okay, so that's not what's happening. What's happening is it's the extra amount of money. Okay, because the stimulus package, when they shot it out, I'm not on unemployment, but I'm on Social Security. I got another entire Social Security check as a stimulus package. So I doubled the money I made in 1 month. Doubled it. Okay, so if I were at this point on Social Security and thinking about going to work somewhere and getting off Social Security, I go, what the hell am I doing that for? I'm getting paid double now. I'm twice as much as I was getting paid before, and I was making it before. Why would I want to go back to work? That's what's happening, guys. It's not everyone. Those people who can or need to because they're not making enough, they go back to work. But you have to remember, the majority of the people that are on unemployment are just at poverty or above or below. They're not, hey, I'm missing out on work that makes me $500,000 a year.
Right.
That's not them. They're the people like you and me and everybody else that's making either minimum wage or somewhere between minimum and $25 an hour. And
That brings up a whole other topic of wages earned as per wages spent per monthly income.
Right.
For expenses, it's basically debt to income ratio.
Yep.
It's totally out of whack.
Yeah.
If those people are making more on unemployment than they were, and I'm actually on unemployment at the moment. My job was lost to COVID. So this whole thing is actually reflecting on me. And
Sure.
you bet your ass I want that $600.
Right. Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Hey,
try to
hello,
do that to
Mr. Omar.
incentivize
How
people.
are
So
you, sir?
Yeah,
I'm
I
doing
see
great,
Omar's
man.
with-
Fantastic. How are you?
Welcome,
Good,
Omar.
good.
What's up, buddy?
What's up, Omar?
Oh, not much. I was delayed here because I had a big ass carpet cleaning truck just right outside my window here, and carpet cleaning the upstairs. So of course the sweeping noise right upstairs, and then you got that big truck outside, and I was
Yeah.
like, "There's no way."
Hey, I wanted the comments in the chat. Scruffy Nerf Herder, love the name. Scruffy Nerf Herder, that's badass. Coronavirus will magically disappear after November 3rd, guaranteed. Agreed.
Agreed.
Yep.
Absolutely. And
Agreed,
Mom,
my
I'm
friend.
sorry. My mom thinks this is a Trump rally, and it's really not, Mom. It's not. That's not what we're trying
You
to
have
do
understand,
here.
I am not a Republican, and I tell people this. I am registered.
Me neither.
No party. Every Democrat thinks I'm a Republican, and every Republican thinks I'm a Democrat. As soon as they start talking, unless I say, I'm voting for Donald Trump. But that's because
So,
you have to understand that I'm part of a coalition that hired Donald Trump to drain the swamp.
Right.
And I know that if you are a hardline Democrat, you have to look at your party and say, do I want this to go the way of China, or Venezuela or North Korea or Russia,
Right.
because that's where they're taking you with this supposed democratic
Socialism and
There's no
Marxism.
such thing
Yep.
as democratic socialism, and the progressive Democrats, progressive in that word is the word they took out from communist or socialist. They were calling themselves socialist. Look that word up if you're.
Well,
Mom,
here's
you're
here's
old
what I
enough
tell
to
people.
know socialism.
Yeah, here's what I tell people. I tell people this is no longer Republican and Democrat.
No.
This now is about democracy and Marxism.
Yes.
That's what it's about.
I'm a
Period.
patriot.
A
I am not a
patriot.
Republican
Yeah,
or a
exactly.
Democrat. I'm
So
a patriot.
you got to make up your
Correct.
choice on what you want, whether you want to be a democracy or you want to be a communist or a socialist or whatever you want to
Right.
call it. That's the two choices you got, regardless of who's running or whatever. But that's what you have. It's not Republican, Democrat. It is now democracy and socialism. Period.
Oh, I want to
So-
get back a comment real quick to Scruffy Nerf Herder. I just
Yeah.
watched the Solo movie for the first time the other day. That was badass. That reference of Scruffy Nerf Herder is a reference to Han Solo from
Great
Star
movie.
Wars. Yeah, all the movies were great, and Solo
That's
was great.
cool, yeah.
I read the books that they based that on. There was 3 books based on Han Solo's beginning, and that's
Right.
what they used as a guideline for that. And hopefully they'll play out some more too, since it was popular. But Princess Leia called him a scruffy-looking Nerf herder, and he said, "Who's scruffy-looking?"
Yeah. That's funny.
So I want to time travel back here a couple of minutes and then add to what Leo was saying about what's the point of going back to work because I'm making a lot more money. Well, the same thing's happening here in Canada. See, since March 15th or so, and up until now, we've had the CERB, right?
Yep.
The Canada Emergency Relief Benefit. So every person's getting $2,000 if you qualify. So that's what they've been doing. And then now what they've done is they've come across this problem where they're having a hard time weaning people off that $2,000 a month. So they created this other program, it's like CERB, but with a W for workers, where the government will subsidize like up to 75% of your income if you go back to work, right? So what they're finding is that even that's not working because people are collecting this $2,000 a month. And like you were saying, like these people aren't going to work to earn $500,000 a month. These guys are minimum wage contractors, subcontractors that aren't really making all that much money. So they're actually making more money, especially if there's 2 of them, a man and a wife in a house, and together they're making $4,000. And prior to COVID, they were pulling in like maybe $3,000, $2,500 after taxes and such, right?
Right.
So they've essentially, are earning 1/3 more. So what's the point of them going back to work? Right. So, there isn't. So, but there's a reality check for all these people coming as well, because CERB is going to be over come, I think next month is like the last payment. They extended it by 8 weeks. And I believe next month is the last month. And then after that, there is no more CERB, even if there's a second lockdown and shit like that. This is it. Right. So, I'm not quite sure whether these people understand or appreciate the gravity of their situation, because suddenly everyone's going to be competing for that very same job, and what that's going to do is going to bring the wages down, right? So a person's going to say, well, I'm not going to pay you $25 an hour to push the shovel when I've got 20 guys behind you, they'll do it for $12, right?
Yep.
So suddenly the market value drops of the worker class, and the worker class is what really rules the economy.
Absolutely. And what makes it worse, though, here's the economics of it. Okay, this is what you guys don't understand. Most of you don't understand this, and I know this because you didn't take economics, otherwise, or global economics. Every time they print this fake money, and they flood the market with it, Omar and I were talking about this the other day, last week. Every time they print this money and they give you this stimulus package, billions and billions of dollars, what that does to the dollar, whatever country you're in, whatever currency you use, it deflates the value of that currency because you keep printing more and more money. The value of the money is determined by how many you have, how much you have in circulation. So if you have $500 trillion in circulation, your money's only, pretty soon you're going to be paying $10 for a fucking candy bar that's $1.50. And that's no joke. After World War II, when the value of the German mark was so devalued that a dude took a whole wheelbarrow full of money in so he could buy a pair of shoes. That is
People
not
were
that's not something I made up. That's a true
Yeah,
story.
people were actually using the Deutschmark as kindling because
Yeah.
Yep.
it wasn't worth the paper it was printed on,
Right.
and people were just burning it to stay warm. Right? You could take a barrel full to go and get a bag of bread, but you weren't getting it because you just didn't have enough. Right? Suddenly, a bag of bread or loaf of bread was 10 million Deutschmarks. When just a few months earlier, it was like maybe two Deutschmarks
Two.
or
Yeah.
3 marks or 1 mark or whatever,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So yeah, that's what's happened, and that's what's happening right
And
now
what they
too.
do is they
Because
call
then
that
injecting all
inflation.
these trillions of dollars into North American economy,
Yep.
right? United States and Canada together, what they're doing is they're just devaluing the money. That's
Yeah.
all they're doing. But there's good news to that too, though, Leo, because recently the Treasury and the Federal Reserve were merged, and it's being
Right.
administered by Larry Fink, and he's the CEO of BlackRock, which is the biggest hedge fund manager in the world. Like they manages something like $27 trillion, right?
Yep.
So they've stepped in. So essentially, what's happened is that the Treasury overtook the central bank, Rothschild Central Bank. So the Rothschilds are not in control of the central bank anymore, but the Treasury is. So what that means is that if the Treasury wants to print money, they can print as much as they want because now they're not borrowing from a third party. Right now, what they're
Right.
doing is that they're borrowing from the taxpayer in hopes that in the future the books will be, they'll balance the books like they just did. Right, just a couple of months ago, they balanced it to like $5 trillion for the first time ever. So, and then another thing is that the American government is buying up gold, silver, and platinum,
Yep.
indicating that the American dollar, the greenback, is going to go back to the gold standard instead of the petrodollar that it is right now
Right.
because of the problems with the oil in the Middle East.
Well, that
And
we
also
control
with
the
this
oil
huge
here and
outcry
being now
of
the biggest
weaning off of
producers
oil,
of
right?
oil.
So
Yeah.
they're changing the currency altogether. So that's good news, right? That's good news for the whole world because now if other countries decide to follow suit and begin merging their treasuries with
Well, look
their
at England. That's
reserves,
why they
right?
jumped
They'll
out
kick
of the
the
EU.
Rothschilds right out.
Yeah.
And then essentially what can happen is that the governments can say, like say the American government, they can look at the Rothschilds and say, okay, well, we owe you $3 trillion, but we're just not going to pay you that back because it's not possible. And and what manner do you have to come and collect it from us to begin with? We have the
Right.
army, we have the might. We're going to wipe the slate clean here. We owe you nothing. The world owes you nothing because
But
you
that
guys have
none of
taken
that
advantage.
happens. You have to remember all that goes away if you vote for Joe
Oh yeah,
Biden.
well, yesterday he was at a rally and he forgot where he was.
I
Oh
saw
yeah.
Right?
that.
Yeah,
Yep.
I
yeah, he
saw that.
forgot where he was yesterday, and
He
this is
tried to
not the
pass it
first
off like it
time.
was a joke. He says, "Oh,
Yeah,
that's a joke.
exactly.
That's where I used to work." Yeah, he
Yeah,
didn't know
he's
where he
got
was.
dementia. What's
He
going
does.
on is that his primary.
My mother has got dementia. She's got Alzheimer's, and I'm telling you
Yeah,
right now, Joe Biden is where my mother was a year and a half ago.
yeah,
Not even
man, he's
kidding.
either got dementia or Alzheimer's or possibly
Well, no,
both.
that's what they call it now. The onset is
Yeah,
called dementia, but then it
yeah,
becomes full blown Alzheimer's when you really start forgetting stuff. He's
yeah.
Right.
on the hub, bro. He's about to be full blown Alzheimer's. Ronald Reagan had
So
that
this,
happen to him while he was in office.
so what's going to happen is that when because the primary candidate that they're picking is that Democrat woman from California, mayor or something or
Kamala Harris.
other. Yeah,
Kamala
Kamala
that's
Harris.
Harris.
it, Kamala Harris. So what's going to happen is that if they win the election, they're going to say, "Well, Joe Biden isn't fit to,
Oh, of course,
be the president,"
of
and then they're
course.
going to install her in as a president, and then
Oh
she'll
yeah.
be the unelected president of the free world, and that can happen. And you also got to remember, man, Donald Trump, took the central bank from the Rothschilds. That's it. Like this is the biggest achievement that they're not even talking about it. And if you go digging in the news, you'll find like a little gold nugget here and a little gold nugget there. And besides that, they're not talking about it at all because they're afraid that if people find out, they're going to pressure their governments to do the same thing.
That's exactly
Right.
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 That's exactly right. Follow suit. What happens in America follows suit in other
Well, that's
countries.
what, like I said,
Because now the world doesn't have to be afraid of the American army to administer the Rothschilds policy.
Right.
That's
Well,
been the
that's
case up until now, right? Oh, you don't have a central bank? we're gonna remove your government, install our own people in there. But first, we're gonna bomb the shit out of you, and then we're gonna put the central bank in there. And any other country that tries to get away from the central bank or tries to create a new currency, like Gaddafi tried with the dinar, he wanted to go to gold and eject the American dollar. Same thing with Saddam Hussein. All of a sudden these guys were in there kicking their asses and installing their own federal, their own central bank in place. But now that threat has disappeared, because Donald Trump's going to say, well, no, I'm not going to attack Canada because they're, they want to get away from, you guys, or I'm not going to attack Australia, or I'm not going to attack Congo or South Africa or Venezuela because, you guys want us to. So that threat's eliminated. So now basically it's just a dominoes effect. If other leaders around the world
and have the UN do it.
That's exactly right. The UN's starting to step in now too. They actually told America the other day that they should stop going after the protesters with federal agents because they're actually attacking federal buildings, and the UN jumped in and said you shouldn't do that. What is the UN going to do?
Yeah.
What's the UN going to do? We're their foot soldiers. They're not going to do nothing.
The UN was
They're not going up
created
against
by
protesters.
the cabal.
These are organized rioters.
Was created by the League of Nations, and the League of Nations is literally the Rothschilds and the cabal.
And
They own the United Nations. The cabal is the United Nations. That's what they wanted to put the whole world under that one world government.
With that being said, keep an eye out for the Age of Disclosure coming out very soon. I think it's going to be this week. It's going to be a whole in-depth look of how those 5 families started and now where we are today. A whole timeline. It's going to take me a couple episodes, but they're going to probably be an hour to an hour and a half each, and it's going to be a super in-depth look on how that actually affects disclosure of ufology. It actually affects the economy. It affects everything that we do on an everyday basis because of these 5 families. And they are sinister to the core. To the core.
As far as ufology,
they all live off the scraps that fall off of those families' tables. And then they do their jobs. That's why the doctors who came out and spoke about the hydroxychloroquine to the Supreme Court is not being allowed to be played on Facebook or YouTube or Google anymore. They took them down, deleted them.
Even on Twitter, sometimes they knock you down. So you got to be careful.
And when it has to do with ufology,
account because he posted it. He posted a copy of them talking, and they deleted his account on Twitter.
Yeah.
We got to remember, guys, is that we are at war. Right, this is a war on consciousness. This is a war on us.
Because there's a coup, literally a military coup attempt.
This is a war on us, and these guys are going to try every single tactic that they have to try to win, and they are doing it. So what we need to do is remain aware and keep our awareness very high. Read. Right now is the time to read. Even if it's fake news, inside that fake news, they'd drop you little nuggets of information, little piece here, little piece there. And once you read 30, 40, 50 articles, it just starts to make a picture, and then you can see what they're doing. Hang
on one second. There's one thing I disagree with. They are not winning, and I'm going to tell you why they're not winning. And there is, and Omar, I respect what you're saying, but they're literally trying everything. I'm sorry if you didn't say that, but they are not winning because they are literally trying everything in the book. They are getting so desperate that's why this is what it is right now, because they are so desperate. They were winning for a very long time. They won for a very long time.
The problem
is they're going to try as hard as they can to win.
Gotcha. They are
very, very hard.
Totally agree with that.
In the chat, Scruffy Nerf Herder says, and it said that was the deal with North Korea, and Trump stopped it. Correct. They were trying to get us to go to war with North Korea. They were trying to get us to go to war with Iran. They were trying to get that poor guy. I've talked about this on my show, and so has Omar. That poor guy in Hawaii that got fired because he pressed the button because there was an incoming missile. There was really an incoming missile. They fired a missile from a CIA submarine under the water at Hawaii, but it was actually stopped. And here's where it's going to take the macabre. Okay, you guys are going to go, oh man, this guy just lost me. He's a lunatic. It was stopped by the coalition up there.
Yeah,
okay,
Space Force.
The coalition of spacecrafts rendered that bomb inert. It fell into the ocean. They fired another one at Japan. And
they do it all the time.
They sat right off the coast, so it looked like Korea was doing it to get us to go to war. Same thing with the drone. They shot down the drone, and tried to goat the president to go to war. And he said, at first he was like, okay, let's go and let's attack their targets. And if you watch the news, he said, wait a minute, if we do that, will it kill Iranians? And they said yes. And he said, I don't want to do it then because they didn't kill any of our people, and that's harsh. Everyone was mad at him in the freaking CIA, NSA, the military, because the cabal's in charge. And they wanted him to go to war with Iran, and he said absolutely no. We could put sanctions on them and not have to harm anyone. And that's
he's trying to bring our troops home anyway. He doesn't want
everybody
our
says he's
troops
a
over there.
warmonger, and he's going to take us into every war. Every president since I've been born took us to a war, started one or continued one. This is the first president. Barack Obama claimed that he wanted to pull people out, started pulling people out, and added more people back in. He did not pull people out. Donald Trump is claiming he wants to pull people out. If he wants to start a war, he could have started a war with the Koreans. It was there. He could have started a war with China. It was there. He could have started a war with Iran. It was there. How come he's not starting a war?
He's not.
He can go to war in Venezuela too if he wants.
Venezuela,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
He could have stormtrooped in there. We could own Venezuela right now,
Yeah, absolutely.
right?
Nope.
So
But he's
why
not,
is he not doing that?
He's not that type of president. Like you said earlier, he's been hired to drain the swamp, and that's exactly what he's doing. And the biggest achievement, again, out of all of this is taking over the central bank.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
That was their power.
That has to be the single biggest achievement so far. And these guys are panicking right now. The the Democrats or the cabal or whoever, even inside the Republican Party, they're all panicking.
A lot of them
because,
don't know they're being controlled. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
Some of
they're
them
not
do.
part of that higher pyramid.
And you get these guys, you can look right in their eyes. Mark Zuckerberg, when I saw him on television, I
They're
have
dead.
this
They're
vision.
dead. They're dead behind their eyes.
Well, if you look at them, you can tell they're shooting up the adrenochrome because they get their bloodshot
Their eyes
all the time. Okay,
Yeah,
that's not because
their
Mark
eyes.
Zuckerberg, he's a rich billionaire. Oh, he must be like doing a lot of work. The only
And-
work that guy does is sit on his ass and talk in front of a camera. He doesn't do
Exactly.
Yeah.
anything. He's got so
Did
much
you
money,
hear
but he doesn't
him?
wipe his ass.
Did you
okay?
see where them guys, the Google, Mark Zuckerberg,
Yep.
and all them guys went in front
They
of
got
Congress?
tore
and
up.
7 hours.
Yeah, they-
I watched a good 3.5 hours, man.
They got
slapped
tore
their
up.
asses, man.
5
They got tore up.
hours.
They got
5.5 hours of them getting their asses ripped up
Yeah,
by
they
the
did.
U.S. government.
Yep.
That was one thing. Democrats and Republicans.
I saw that.
Hammering.
It was both. It was
Yep.
the first time I've seen a bipartisan anything in
Yes,
this country in
I
20
agree.
years or so. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Yeah.
Ripped them
Yeah.
apart, man.
They were
on-
backpedaling like nobody's business.
I would've
So many
started-
times
if
they
it
go,
were
"Well,
me-
I really don't know. I really don't know what's going on with that. I'll have to get back to you, and we need further information. We need further information."
They got caught.
would've
They know they
started-
got caught. you
Yep,
know?
I would have started if I were a congressman or a senator and I was talking. I would have started the conversation with, "Mr. Zuckerberg, remind me again why we shouldn't cut your company into about 3 companies.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
You tell me why we shouldn't just go ahead and cut all your guys' company up like we did AT&T when they were not quite as big as you are now.
right.
You guys,
They-
every one of you would start with one of you and work down the panel. That's what I would have said. And I would have had, I want every one of your answers as to why we don't do that. I would have started with that. I wouldn't have alluded to it. I would have said,
Well,
"Tell me
remember
why
back in the
we don't
day-
chop you up."
Remember back in the day when we actually had Yahoo and we had MySpace?
Yeah.
All right. MySpace got sued by Facebook,
Yep.
right? And Google. So
Google tried
MySpace.
their hand for a while, and they had
Yeah.
their own platform. Yeah, yeah.
So MySpace got taken down. You know, literally, it was gone.
Yep.
You know, and that's because of all this conglomerate crap, and whatever. So this goes to show you how quickly they can buy and sell other companies, to make
Well, they do
themselves
that.
one.
The rich people do that. If you look at every single glasses and every single sunglasses on the face of the earth is owned by one Italian man.
Sure.
There is nothing made that you put on your face. Goggles, glasses, every company that you can imagine, Ray-Ban, Oakley, all of them. One Italian man owns every single one. And when anyone pops up and starts making them, creates their own company, he just goes and buys them up.
Yeah.
I saw an interview with him and they said, "Aren't you a monopoly?" And he said, "I'm not in the United States. You can't touch me."
Right.
And they said, "Well, don't you think that's not fair?" He says, "You start a company. You can do whatever you want. It's a free planet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't
The
like
best-
what I'm doing, start your own company." That's
The
what he
best-
said to them. He was arrogant. He was like, "I bought them all up. They're all mine now."
The best of that whole little conglomerate congressional hearing was Matt Gaetz literally affiliating Google with Chinese
With
AI
Chinese,
and helping
yep.
the communist Chinese army, but backing out of the deal with the United States to help them do the
He
same
then
thing.
went on to
Yep.
Fox afterwards and talked about it again.
Again,
Painted
yeah.
that. It was like, look,
That was the
I
nail in
want
the
to know
coffin.
why
Boom,
you
boom,
guys
boom.
are helping the Chinese government and
Yep.
military, but you were backed out of a deal with the American government. They were like, oh, well, we're not really helping them.
Well, why do
Then he
you
put-
think? Why do you think Trump wants TikTok sold now?
Yeah.
You know, because they
Well,
were a
think
spy
about that.
program for the Chinese. You
Well,
know,
we're talking about the economy and how we just bought back the reserve and everything like that. The
Yeah.
one biggest part about that was actually denominating the Chinese out of American business, because they are literally 60% of all American business. They
Right.
took
Yeah,
over.
and
They took
why
over
is
the
it, guys,
farms. Even the
you gotta
farms in
ask yourself
America are
this question: Why
owed
is
to the Chinese.
why is it that all the Democrats say that the Russians, whose gross domestic product is that of the size of Texas, that's all. Okay,
Yeah.
California makes more money than the Russian government makes every year. No joke. California is the third most producing country on the planet by itself, but we're a state in the Union of the United States. So we make more money here and have more political power and clout around the world and probably have a bigger military than Russia does. Why is it that Russia is so important? Because they're hacking into our elections, which, see, now those of you who don't know what the internet is, I do, because I took the internet for what it was. I did that back in 1997 when I realized the internet was there. And at the time I was part of Sinn Féin. Sinn Féin was a political wing of the Irish Republican Army. I then became a full-blown member of Sinn Féin, and I ran, and I can say this now because I can't go to jail for it, because now I'm a patriot, because we won. And Ireland has they're a free and sovereign nation. So that made me a CIA agent equivalent in the Irish Republican Army. But at the time, I used propaganda on the internet, and I posted it all over the internet to drum up business for the IRA, to get people to funnel money to the Irish Republican Army so they can continue fighting the war to free Ireland. I also made sure that all of the information got out to the world about the atrocities that the English were doing to the Irish and hiding it from the rest of the world. And they realized that the internet platform was the way to go, so I had full backing of the Irish Republican Army and Sinn Féin. I had the speeches from the then president, first president of Ireland, who was a Sinn Féin member. I got the speeches before he spoke them.
right.
And I put them on the air. I had two different aliases. That's not this one that I'm using currently. The name that I have currently is an alias. It's not the name I was born under. Okay. And I had two other names that I was using that were completely different aliases. And I had full identification for the whole nines. Okay. And I used that platform. Every country on the planet has been using the platform of the internet since 1997, doing exactly what the Russians do every single year. It's new to these old ass politicians because they're all between the age of 65 and 172. And they don't know what the fucking internet is. They're on that Twitter thing and the FaceTime. They don't even know. Okay, so they're just learning in this last year about hacking, and they're like freaking out. Now, the Chinese, I can tell you, is the biggest, next to the United States government, is the biggest hackers on the face of the earth. Our government, I know this because I personally know people who, when I was young and we were hackers, got caught hacking and then got hired by the FBI and the CIA. Then come forward in time and anonymous, when they used to go out into the streets with the Guy Fawkes mask on. You don't see them do that anymore because they got caught and half of their staff got arrested and then hired by the CIA to hack shit. Okay, this is not a lie. That's why they've gone back to making videos and hiding behind their masks. They don't come out. I know a bunch of them personally. Okay,
Right.
and some of them I know personally, but I never met them physically. Okay. This is being done. Our government hacks more countries than anybody, but the Chinese are the biggest stealers of our technology and information on the
absolutely.
face of the earth.
Yeah.
But every single Democrat loves them like they're their best friend. Why is that?
Because they
they're
get paid financially.
Yeah, they're making fucking ton of money off of
Yeah.
it. Look at Joe Biden's family and his son. Oh, that's a conspiracy theory. No, it's not. No, it's
No,
not. He
it's
has
real.
to actually
Yeah.
have a record with his taxes, and you can look this up. But they count on the fact that you will never look any of this up. And that's what I do for a living. That's what I do. I've been doing this my entire life. So when I hear somebody on the news talking, I go, okay, I need to look that up because I call bullshit on that. I'm also Irish. But Irish people don't believe anything anyone says. You say something to me, we go, yeah, that's a bullshit promise.
Right.
Okay.
Leonard, you're my friend. You believe that?
You know what? You tell me that, I'd love to believe you, Ron.
He's
But
like,
there's a
that's
part of me that
bullshit. I
goes,
got-
what's that motherfucker's angle?
That's bullshit. That's bullshit, and I gotta go look it up. Let me
Yeah,
look it
right,
up.
right.
Let me look
My
it up.
grandfather used to say horse shit to everything, horse shit. And then
It's
now
on
we say
Wikipedia.
bullshit.
We're affiliated. It's on Wikipedia. Trust
Yeah,
me.
yeah, exactly, right? Yeah, and I don't look it up on
Oh.
Wikipedia, That's funny.
It's
Another
crazy.
thing I wanted to bring up here is the Pizzagate, right?
Oh
There's
boy.
that's another
Good
swamp
turn, good
aspect
turn, good segue, Omar,
aspect
good
that's
segue.
being turned, right? So what I've
Yeah.
been seeing on the internet lately is that Tom Hanks is a pedophile. So for me, that was pretty hard to believe because that's
Yeah.
Forrest Gump, right?
Yeah.
That's
That's
Wilson, right?
Mr. Rogers, man. Yeah.
Like for me, I was devastated, right? So I was like, no, this got to be some sort of bullshit. So I
Well,
started
Mr.
looking
Bill.
into it, and then once I began looking into it, my opinion changed very quickly, and I'll show you a little bit of evidence here. I'm doing a video here for this, so this is just a little sneak peek. So I'm going to share a window with you, Clarence.
Okay.
This is
You guys
now
know,
Tom Hanks.
he's a citizen of Greece now too, right? He went and put his citizenship in Greece so they can't extradite him fast enough.
That's right.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I'll tell you a little bit about that. So Tom Hanks likes to tweet gloves, right? He says he finds like these single gloves and he takes pictures of them and he tweets them, right? So what my theory behind that is I'll tell you a little bit about this entire image right here, and then your mind will be blown. Okay. So what I'm thinking about this glove is that this glove is an indication or an expression of OJ when O.J. Simpson's glove didn't fit and he got away with murder, right? So that's I believe is a reference to the glove. Now, if we see right here, it says SRC USA. Now, if you take SRC USA and go to Google and Google it, you just find like normal things. You go to Yahoo, you find normal things. You go to Bing, you find normal things. But once you go to Yandex, Yandex is a Russian-based search engine, and you go in there and you put in SRC USA, your mind will be absolutely blown because it's all connected to young children and pedophilia. All of it. You go SRC USA, SRC USA images, SRC kids, SRC children, and you'll see that these sites are just like loaded with child pornography and, well, not outright pornography, but children in very um, you know compromising positions. And in the comments, you have all these pedophiles making all sorts of different comments and such. Anyways, you can report all of that, and I have been. So now the reason why I believe this to be true is that I want you to keep an eye on this S right here, okay? This S, memorize that. And same thing with this S. You see that, how it's uniquely written? Right, so now I'm going to share my screen with you again, Clarence, and I'm going to show you the second image, okay, of Tom Hanks writing, his printing. And then I want you to keep that other S in mind when you take a look at this one, okay?
Okay.
This is the same S, written by the same person. You see that S?
Oh wow. Yeah.
That S is written identical as to the previous picture of SRC USA. Now, not to mention, I'll browse down here a little bit. There's a, right here, here's an image of Tom Hanks from Castaway. This is the scene where he was writing his message on this wall, and he clearly wrote it in all front of us. And take a look at the S.
Yeah, it's the way he makes his S's, isn't it?
That's right. Those S's
The one
are.
for days also is the exact same S.
Huh.
Now, what I'll do, I'm not going to show you anything from Yandex because it's just far too disturbing. But if you want to pursue that and have a look, Tom Hanks is actually all over that, and this is kind of connected also with Wayfair. That Ellen DeGenerate is connected with because they're
Right.
selling cabinets with missing children's names, and the prices for these cabinets would be like an average of like $60-$70, and they're selling them for like 14, 15, $16,000. And once those cabinets are sold, they remove the price and replace it with the original price of $69, $59. So
Jesus.
there's a lot of accusations going towards that's what she's involved in. And you have to remember, her set also looks like Pedostein's house on his island. It's the exact same thing. If you take a look at Degenerate's set and you look at Pedostein's house, they're the same. So she's connected with them somehow. So back
Right.
to the old draining the swamp. This is one of the good things that's happening is that all these Hollywood elite and these pedos that are now being exposed, like Tom Hanks, for instance. This only took me about 15 minutes to research. I looked at it and I cruised through his tweets. I looked and I was like, hey, there's his writing. So what does that mean? That those 6 letters, what are they? Did he write those letters? And then I was thinking about OJ and I was like, holy shit. And then I started to look up to see what his writing looks like. And then, my mind was blown when I saw his Tom Hanks star on Hollywood Walk, wherever that is, because he clearly wrote that.
Yeah.
And then also in the movie, his S's are the same, so he cannot have the same essays, written by two different people. It's like a fingerprint.
Right.
So that is a message that he's sending in that tweet. That's not the only glove that he took that he tweeted. He's tweeted like numerous
A
gloves,
lot.
so
Yeah.
many
lot
that
of
he
them,
was
yeah.
on but Jimmy Kimmel,
Go
and
and look
also
at his
Jimmy
Twitter
Kimmel is
feed. Yeah.
connected with Pedostein, and then they were talking about these gloves, and Tom Hanks's excuse is that that's his hobby, that he tweets single gloves and wonders what happens to the other one, right? For me, what that is that's a message, and that's kind of what's connected to O.J. Simpson. O.J. Simpson tried on that single glove, right, that didn't fit, and he got away with double murders.
Right.
And I believe that that same expression is being used here. And if these other people that are viewing these that understand those impressions of those symbolism, then they'll know.
Right. And in Pizzagate, everything it's esoteric that way. Everything they have codes.
Well, you
And
know
I
what?
have up on if you go to Orion Rising, the page, and scroll down, you'll see the 10 videos that were made by Anonymous. And that's a woman who was over, she lives in Denmark, I think, that made that. I remember when she was putting them together.
We're losing your
we-
sound, Leo.
I
Losing
don't know
sound a
why.
little bit.
Is it? I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's sliding down my neck
Yeah.
and getting down away from my
There you go.
face, right?
But check this out, guys. Who used to wear a single glove on his hand all the time and has
Michael
always
Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
and has
Absolutely.
always been projected as a
Michael
pedophilia.
Jackson was a pedophile.
Yeah.
Michael
yeah.
Jackson.
You got
Single
to
glove.
think about this too. Anytime that any of these satanic people do these types of rituals, they actually think that they get more power by putting it in your face and deceiving you by what the actual
They actually do. That's
Yeah.
what
Yeah,
the
but look
act-
how
what
many
the-
years. So look how many years they've gotten away with it before anything ever came out. That's the sad part about it.
Well, and
It's not
just
like
here
you
in the
notice it
United
right
States,
away.
guys. I've tracked this because it's part of the coalition taking down the cabal. So I track
Mm-hmm.
this and I give it to people that are paying attention, and that are working with me. Like like Josie, for instance, she used to be a administrator in Ancient Aliens Worldwide. Her and I have been tracking this stuff for a couple of years. So
Mm-hmm.
she had been out of the picture for a while and away from Facebook, and then I sent her the information one day. She's like, "Oh my God, I track this stuff globally, and it's all over the world. Big pedophiles and pedophilia rings
Yeah.
are being taken down because the coalitions around the planet are working together for the first time, and things are actually progressing, like we talked about, where the
Yeah,
global
Donald
banking
Trump
here
is
in the
essentially
United
the
States,
quarterback.
the English pulled out of the European Union and they went back to their own banking system again. So the English pound is there. They did that to get away from the
Yeah.
evil cabal that is running the European Union.
And America followed suit.
You're hearing this all over the planet. Deutsche Bank is
And
right in the
also,
middle of it.
remember, Leo, that in my webinar I was talking about the three city-states: the Vatican, London, and the United States. London being the financial hub, America being the Washington being the military, Vatican
Yep.
being the spiritual. And it's kind of cool that you just mentioned that the Brits pulled out and they got their own banking stuff. So you have the
Right.
financial, the cabal's financial
Well, and then
headquarters
look at the
essentially being
Vatican.
taken from them, and then their military might being taken from them as well. So the only thing they have left now is their spiritual,
No, and they
and
don't have
that's
that
going
either.
down pretty
They don't
fast.
have that either. Let me explain why, and that's why it's going to be taken down by them. You watch. I know the prophecy. The one pope stepped down, and the first pope in the history of that church said,
Ratzinger.
"No, I'm not doing this anymore."
His
Ratzinger
name
stepped
Joseph
right.
Ratzinger.
So no, he's the one that's in charge now.
He's the one that
Ratzinger's
stepped
in
down.
charge. Or he's the one that stepped down. You're right.
Yeah,
Bergoglio.
he stepped down. Yeah.
Jorge
So right,
Bergoglio is in
but now
charge
see
right
the guy
now,
who's
and,
in charge, the guy who's in charge is not owned by the cabal. First thing he did was
there's
come out
more
and
talk
said,
about that guy's
when
arrest.
someone said, "Do you think aliens exist?" The first thing he said was, "Well, of course, God's big enough to be in charge of like making the entire universe. He is not the cabal, so they're going to take the church down now, despite him." Just like they're trying to take down Donald Trump, and just like they're trying to take down Boris Johnson and Netanyahu over in Israel, because they're not the cabal. That's why they hate and go after. And this is where we went around with when I asked that question: why is Russia the big bad enemy when China really is? Because Vladimir Putin is not in the cabal. The cabal
has never been-
created
he actually
the
took the
Soviet
cabal.
Union, and Putin took it over when they fell, and he's not in the cabal. He's fighting against them.
Well, yeah, he
Well,
took
here-
it from Gorbachev when Gorbachev made a nobody, because
Yep.
at that time Putin was a KGB agent. He was a mayor of Moscow. He had really no power, and suddenly he was the president of the
He
biggest
went-
country
he
on the
ended up being
planet.
the head of the KGB and
That's
then
right.
took over
And
the
he took
country. Yeah.
He essentially
here's
took the cabal from them. But just quickly before you go, Rob, I just want to go back earlier to what I was saying about Tom Hanks, and you mentioned about him becoming a Greek citizen. The reason why he's become a Greek citizen is because in Greece, pedophilia is considered a disability. And
Yep.
also, it does not have an extradition treaty with the United States. So that's a safe ground for him to be at. But
Well,
now
yeah,
they're
because
tweeting
in
lately that
Greece
he just
lore,
recently became
pedophilia was a part of their
became a
life
citizen,
forever
but
in
that's
Greece.
not true. He became a citizen of Greece back in January, right
Well,
before
he was
the
already being
pandemic.
outed. It just hasn't. It just wasn't as viral. So that's why he did it back in January, because he was
Yeah.
already being outed then. I heard about it. Chappie. Okay, if you guys remember Chappie, the actor who supposedly threw himself off an overpass a year and a half ago in Arizona, he said that the day before he died. He said that,
He said, "I'm not
that
suicidal."
he was a pedophile. He said that, what's his name, the guy that did Knocked Up? What's his name? The Jewish guy with the glasses and the. Do you know his name? What is his name?
Jeff Goldblum.
No. He's the
No,
Seth Rogen. He said Seth Rogen is a pedophile.
Seth Rogen,
He said
yeah,
Tom
yeah.
Hanks is a pedophile. He said that night before he supposedly killed himself the next day. He also said that he
In
made
that
the biggest
video, he
mistake in
also
his
said
life.
that,
That he
he
actually.
wasn't suicidal.
What's that?
In that video, he also said he wasn't suicidal. He said it two
That's
or
right.
three times.
Because
Right.
people kept
Yeah.
asking him, are you suicidal? Do you think you're going to try,
Yeah.
because they thought he was. And he was going, no,
Yeah.
I'm not.
No, he
In that
goes, "I'm
video,
not."
he also said, I just spoke to the most wise man on the face of the earth. And I had a long conversation with him. And people were asking, who was this person? Who was this person? Finally, somebody said, was this person JFK Jr.? And he read the question in the chat, was this person JFK Jr.? And he looked at his camera and he went,
Yep.
and then he went on talking. So people say, oh, well, he could have been just doing anything there. Okay, so then he tossed himself off of an overpass and got run over by cars on the 60 in
truck.
Arizona.
Yeah, it was the truck that he got run
12
over by.
hours after that.
Yeah,
I
people
don't
don't
think he jumped.
like
I
that.
really don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's
And,
another thing, real
today.
quick for everybody. Clarence said that it's not, it hasn't come out in a long time. Why we're just finding out about it now? It's all about perception. Mel Gibson tried to say it. Corey
Yeah.
Haim tried to say it. Chris Cornell was going to come out with it. Chester Benningfield was going to come out with it. Paul Walker was going to come out with it. And half of those people are dead now.
Dead.
But they've
Well,
been saying
yeah,
it
They
for
blacklisted
years.
Corey
Yeah.
Haim forever, right? And he kept going and going for 5, 10 years. He was saying it. Yep.
Yeah, Phoenix River said it. He
And
died.
they killed him. He died, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Heroin overdose. in the
Macaulay
back
Culkin.
Macaulay
Yeah.
Culkin said
Yeah.
it too.
Yep.
Yeah,
Anybody
they're
who
all.
talked-
It's been
they
there,
would
but it's been
blacklist you or
forced
kill
out.
you.
Like,
Absolutely.
I don't know if you
Well,
watched
you know,
it.
we've seen it. We've seen it many, many times in the Catholic churches, the Boy Scouts of America, you know, so on and so
Yeah.
forth. We've seen it. We've seen it over and over and over again. And I think a lot of it, you know, when we saw it at that time, we're not thinking of a whole group of people. We're just thinking of separate entities. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It isn't
People
until
aren't realizing
now
that it's
that you
connected,
find
yeah.
out that there is a whole magnitude of one group, you know,
it's like-
that's spread
Well,
out.
and you know who you have to thank for that, and everybody
Jimmy
out there, all
Savile.
the is you have the. No, you have the anons.
Yeah,
Those are the
right,
people that
the
are left
anon,
over
yeah.
from
Yeah.
Anonymous. That's why they're called anons.
Right.
And those people are the ones I know because I was there on the dark web putting all this stuff together. I saw the pictures that haven't even made it to the news today. Okay, and the
Yeah.
pictures they've been showing you of Jeffrey Epstein and the prince with the little blonde girl. I saw those pictures 3 years ago when that whole thing was being compiled. And guess who was involved in helping us compile that? Trigger, Q.
Yeah.
Q. Okay? So you people out
Crazy.
there that go, Q is a lunatic and Q is some crazy hippie and I don't believe anything Q says. I'm telling you that either I thought Q was Mike Pompeo. And I'm still not sure if it's not him because every time Mike Pompeo leaves this country to go to another country, Q doesn't post until Mike Pompeo is on the route back. Okay?
Q is definitely part of the White House. It has to be on the. They have to be on the
was
inside.
ex-director of the CIA. He would have
Right.
clearance. He would have Q clearance.
Yeah.
Right, and now he's the Secretary of Defense. He has Q clearance. Now, I don't know if it is him for sure, but that's my guess. Some people say it's JFK Jr.
It could be.
Could be.
Yeah,
Could be.
I've seen those
Crazy.
pictures of that guy that shows up at the Trump rallies. I've looked at that, compared, taken a photo and compared
Yeah.
it. Age regression, make his nose a little bit more bulbous. Noses keep growing forever. Not everybody has this tiny little Irish nose.
Right.
Noses and ears grow forever, guys. So
and
I'm
beards.
just saying.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Hell,
I don't know
if noses
JFK
grow
Jr.'s alive.
forever, I'm completely fucked because mine's already big. It's gonna be my whole
They grow,
face
sorry to
soon.
say, brother, they continue to grow.
My face is a nose.
Yeah, mine too. Yeah.
I got little ears, but it make up for it in a lot
Look
of
at
nose.
the ears
so
I got on this kid. These
Yeah.
are huge, just like 6 inches, bro.
mine are tiny. It's all coming out the front.
I got my nephew looks like this. His
I
four
just-
ears are sticking out like that. He has our ears and they all stick out.
Right.
I got that from the O'Rourke side of the family.
I just want to highlight the fact that the biggest story right now that's not being discussed is the central bank.
Julia,
And,
really quick, I want to answer
everything else.
Julia in the chat. Julia says, I think Q is 45. No, POTUS is QQ.
Yeah.
POTUS is QQ. If you see something that's assigned Q and then another Q, that's POTUS. That was proven. He was out there, he was saying stuff, and it's QQ, and we thought that he was POTUS. And somebody said, POTUS, if this is you and you're QQ, in your next speech live on television, I want you to say fabulous. Donald Trump has never said that word before then and never said it after. On his next speech, he was in Texas, and he says, yesterday I was in Michigan, and it was fabulous. We had a fabulous time.
Yeah.
QQ is POTUS. But Q is someone else that has a Q clearance,
Yeah.
definitely. And someone that's in the White House, close enough to the president. And the president, they keep asking him, have you found Q yet? And he never looks at the camera. We're still looking. We're getting close. Getting close. He knows who Q is. He probably has
Oh,
dinner with him.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
Cool.
Yep. So I'm sorry, Omar. Now go ahead, because I think it's important that we go where you're wanting us to go. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to answer the chat. So please say
I
what
just
you were
wanted
saying
to
when I
say
cut you off.
that the most important story that's out there right now is a central bank being merged with the Treasury, and the fact that the Treasury has control of it, and there's no outside borrowing for interest, for the people, and and that's a good thing, and hopefully rest of the world follows suit. and really take this banking the banking structure down, because it's the biggest problem that we face as a society. And this whole COVID thing, it may be true, it may not be true, who knows? But I can only put it in a single perspective, that this COVID is actually a good thing for humanity, because in the last 10, 15 years, the governments across the world have cut healthcare by 80% of their budgets, right? So
Right.
there's very little money going into research and into healthcare. And what's this done is that this has brought focus into that. So now we're going to begin researching, and we're going to start putting more money into our healthcare, as we can see with the that medical a bill that Trump signed there last week about medication. And we should consider ourselves lucky, man, because these guys have been saying for a long time that the next pandemic was going to come out of China because of their wet markets, and Mother Nature rolled the dice. And we got lucky that she rolled a one, because this is a really sterile and a mild pandemic, right? This pandemic, if she imagine what would have happened if Mother Nature rolled a 5 or a 6, and it had an incubation period of 30 days, and it had a kill rate of 70-80%, like Ebola, or
Right.
something nasty like that. Like, a brand new disease, that's something that we don't even understand. So we should actually be considering ourselves lucky that because this is a novel coronavirus, we have an understanding of this virus to begin with, so we can combat it. But if this was something brand new and nature rolled a 5 or a 6, holy shit, man, we'd be dying by the hundreds and millions. And look at
Yep.
all the good things that people are doing for each other too. Like a kid down the street going to the store for the old lady, because he knows that if she goes out, her life is at stake. So he's making weekly runs to the grocery store for her, and a lot of kind things like that are happening, around the world. So this is actually a little bit of a good thing. And I said this when this whole, mild pandemic began, that this is actually good for us, that, we get to spend some time with our families, we get to hang out. And if you lose your job, you lose your job. And this was the case, right? And it's happened. So we should thank our lucky stars that it was only a 1 and not a 4 or a 5 or a 6, right? Because we wouldn't be sitting around here talking right now.
So
I mean,
let me
I
answer
agree
Dave
with
real
that.
quick in the chat. Dave said, "Who's that guy, the bottom right with the goatee?" I'm Leonard O'Neill. I'm the host of Orion Rising. I have a channel on YouTube and I have a page on Facebook. I'm also the creator of and owner of Ancient Aliens Worldwide, the
Right.
largest group anywhere on the planet for Ancient Aliens. Ancient Aliens Worldwide. So that's hopefully that answers that. You can, I wrote a book about it. I wrote a book about global banking. I wrote a book about prepping. I'm a prepper. This is how to get out of debt, surviving in the 21st century. That tells you how to the cabal and everything that's going on, and how to play their game. This is my other book, Prepping for Survivors. That was going to be one book, those two, and then I wrote the book Orion Rising, which is also the logo for my show. Orion Rising is based on the History Channel's Ancient Aliens theory, which when I wrote it was just a conglomeration like Dan Brown did, a what if. Turns out it's actually really true, really happening. Just the names are different than what is in the book. So
All right.
I feel that this pandemic is actually it's shown a lot of the greatness in humanity, but it's also exposed a lot of the heinous in humanity.
well, that's
And
happening on purpose. That's what's happening because
of
there's
Yeah.
a
course,
Yeah, the
society.
of
heinous
course.
part is, and that's a
Now I
very
have
small fraction of it too. Very, very, very small fraction of it, because there's more good people in the world than there are
Yes,
bad.
that's
And what we're
90
well,
seeing
10.
on the news is just
90% good people and,
focused
and
and
10%.
of
concentrated and
course,
created.
of course. Here's an idea, though.
Yes,
Something
Julie.
that I think that we should
Kindle,
do.
all three books are available on Kindle and Amazon if you want to buy the hard copies. Yes. Just look them
So
up and look up my name.
I
Sorry,
feel
Bob.
that we should, that the four of us, we all have very big brains here. We're all kind of pontificating of what could happen in the future. I feel that maybe the four of us should get together and find out and investigate what are the top crises facing the human race going forward from this point, or for we can go back maybe like a year or so, and also try and figure out solutions and put it all together for people to digest. And also, I think that we should also maybe put that into maybe movie form, with each of us working on a part or a specific crises ourselves.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
And I think that would be very beneficial to people out there for them to see, first off, what hard work can
I
actually
think
pay
that's a
off to
great
be.
idea, Rob, because all of us individually have done that.
Yeah,
right?
pretty
I've done
much.
that
But we
I
haven't
make
done it
videos
together.
all the time.
Yeah.
Omar did that 6-hour video that we played on my show twice for two days. That went on 6-7 hours for that whole thing, and you've done that.
7
You're
hours.
working on another one, and Clarence has done it. We're always putting stuff. I think it's a great idea to have. So we'll have to figure it out, bust it up
Did
into
the
4
Earth
parts.
Day video? Remember the
Yeah,
Earth
and
Day
the Earth Day video,
we
right?
put together?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm forever making videos. If you watch Orion Rising, especially now with
Yeah,
the
me
Orion
too.
Rising news,
Yeah.
I'm always shooting videos out there. All the
We'll
time.
put it out together, and it'll be a series of what it is. It'll be one long, maybe not long, but maybe a 2 or 3 hour movie.
Like a mini series, yeah.
Yeah,
Right,
like a
or 2 or 3
miniseries.
hour movie that
Yeah.
will literally explain to people what they need to look out for and how we move forward in the best possible ways, or give them options on how to
sounds
combat
like,
against these crises.
Sounds like Earth frequency.
Basically, yeah.
It does.
Yeah, it does.
But
yeah.
that's a book, not a movie yet. Yet. Notice I said yet.
I have
exactly
out
what
in
I'm
Hollywood.
doing in my book.
I have Orion Rising. I have a script for the movie and a script for a television series that's floating around Hollywood to this day. And I actually had a studio tell me no, which means that's
Wow.
one. Somebody actually looked at my script and said, "Yeah, no, I don't think people are ready for this." Right now, people are beginning ready for it. So eventually, you're going to
Yeah.
see this as a movie or as a TV series. And I have plenty of stuff. I can rattle it off and dictate it. And I have like 2 books already written in my head, 2 more. Right? And I can just keep going because it's all real. It's all really happening. So I
Yep.
can just tell them what's going on the planet right now and just make up names instead of the
Well, I
real
tell you
ones.
what.
I hate to cut short, but I got to run. I've been
Yeah,
on for
me
about an hour and 20 minutes. I got to run out of here.
Okay.
But Clarence, thank you so much for having me on the show. It was
Oh,
good
you're
to
very
see
welcome.
everybody, Leonard and Omar. I will see you on Sunday, Clarence. Clarence will be on Full Spectrum Universe for a one-on-one conversation.
Yes.
And we're gonna break down his basically his encounters, but we're also gonna go over a couple of other topics, just caressing the narrative a little bit. We're gonna take it home with that. But guys, have a good night. To everybody out there watching, please follow everybody on this stream. These 3 gentlemen that are beside me are all intellectuals like myself, and we try and put pride and knowledge out there for everybody to exchange and to basically digest, so we can all leave. When we look at one of these productions we do, we all leave with a little bit more information. That's the goal.
Right.
So everybody have a great night. I appreciate you letting me on, and guys, I'll talk to you soon.
All right, Rob.
Anytime, Rob.
Good
Thank
night,
you.
buddy.
Brother.
Have a good
Take
night.
care.
I love Rob. He's been with me for years. It's really ironic now. He's got his own show going on, and
That's what
he's
happens.
doing
I mean,
awesome work.
That's what happened with me. I got a few people interviewing me for my book, and then Omar had his show, and I started hooking up with him, and he's the one that told me, "Hey, I want you to interview these guys." And when I got done, everybody said, "Bro, you should have a show." And I was like, "Okay." So I started interviewing for people for Omar on Watch Your Stock. Then he had some problems. He had a death in the family, and he couldn't be on the air because he was going through all of that and taking care of that. And I didn't know that because he just disappeared. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, all right, guys, I got to start. I got the bug, and I started Orion Rising. That's the way it happens, bro.
Yep. Yep. Rob and I met way back on the Blog Talk Radio days, way back. Oh gosh, I couldn't even tell you. It's probably over 10 years now, And he was calling in every other day or every time I was on his show. And he's been with me. I mean, he was just, he was there. I could almost count on him almost every show.
He said that when we were talking, or we were on his
Yeah.
show. He said that he was on the phone calling you all the time.
Yeah.
And then finally he said, "I want to do this."
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to
he sure
do this.
did.
Yeah.
Between him and Jim Collard was another one. He was there every day, and I had awesome people back then. I still do. I mean, we all got a big fancy group and, a lot of great followers out there, and I love them all. I really do.
The first interview, I did an interview on a radio show in Chicago, and I was like, wow, I like that. And then from that was the Sound of Beer opening. Boosh. So, for those of you who don't know and don't, because there's no visual, for those of you who know that sound, that's Omar right up to, he does that. Okay,
Exactly.
So Dino Hewlett from Paranormal Into the Night.
Right.
He said, I want to interview you for Orion Rising, the book. And that's what gave me the bug. And then I started talking to Omar, and he had the show. And I said, hey, let me get involved. And so I was bringing in people for him to interview and trying to find people setting stuff up. And then, like I said, it just turned into all of a sudden, then I got hooked up with the guys from Portal to Ascension. And they were the first people that I interviewed, with Neil and his wife and Peter. And had them, they all said, dude, you're great. You have the great knack for this. You got the voice.
Yeah.
So Omar said, dude, just start doing it. And I did.
Yeah.
And he just became the super producer in the background. And I did it. And until I started 3 years ago now, started Orion Rising. And I've been hit the ground running. I've been doing it ever since. That's what happened.
Oh, that's awesome.
Somebody
You know,
leads
it's
to
funny.
it.
I can't tell you how Omar and I even met. I know it was quite a while ago now. I mean, you know, at least 5-6 years anyway.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, and it's just ironic how it all comes apart, you know, and every, you know.
You meet the people you're supposed to. I tell people that
I
on my
honestly
show,
believe
you know.
that. Yeah, absolutely,
People
absolutely.
find my show and they go, I have no idea how I even got here. And I'm like, the
Right.
universe brought you here. You
Yeah.
happen to be on the right place at the right time, and you click on my show, especially
Yep.
for the Law of One, because that's
Yeah.
a beacon for the wanderers. So when I'm
Sure.
on doing the Law of One, I get people that don't even know me come on there and go, who are you? And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, they're like, you're like talking to me. And I'm like, no, Raw is.
Right.
And that's, you know, it's odd but true that every episode when people first start, they go, it was weird. It was like I needed to hear this specific episode. I'm like, you did. The universe put you here on purpose to find me so that I could help wake you up and to remind you who you are. So when I'm doing my other show, I don't expect that. When I'm doing just Orion Rising or Orion Rising News, I'm just, you know, I'm talking aliens, all the stuff we were talking about, politics. I warned
Right.
people earlier on my Orion Rising, the Law of One. I said, guys, we're not going to be talking spiritualism too much. We're going to be talking dirty politics and stuff you don't want to hear about. You're all going to get mad at me and accuse me of being a Republican, or the other side, you're going to get mad at me and accuse me of being a liberal Democrat. I'm neither. I'm moderate. I'm down the center of the aisle. My whole politics is, I don't think you should be telling gay people what to do. Shut the hell up. I don't think that
Right.
I don't think that you should be telling people they can't have abortion. Shut the hell up. But on
Right.
the other hand, I'm also don't think you should have big government and you know, there should be no government or little or no government. The states can run themselves. The counties should. The problem is evil people put themselves in charge and they want ultimate power ultimately, and they are corrupt and they'll do whatever they need to do.
Yeah,
shadow band.
exactly.
Yeah.
Julie says, "Yep, I don't know how I found Clarence, but so happy I did." Well, thank you for that. That's awesome.
All right, guys, I gotta run. I'm so hot. It's like plus 40.
Oh, boy.
Today.
Oh, that's
it's
hot.
just super, super hot. So
Yeah.
I'm just sweating like a pig here. So I'm gonna go jump in the
Okay.
shower.
Nice.
I'm just super hot.
Outside
So
here, it's
we're not
close to that,
accustomed
but
to-
I have the AC on. I'm inside, but ooh, it's hot, baby.
We're not
Right.
accustomed to this type of weather, right? We're a land of snow and ice. And
Yeah.
this
Right.
whole week has been,
Global
36,
warming. Yeah.
40. So,
It's
and
all
I
them
keep-
cow farts, Omar.
yeah, and
That's
I
what
live
it is.
right next to a river as well. So our river, that's, evaporating.
Blame it on the cow farts, man.
So yeah, thanks, Clarence. I really appreciate you having me on, brother. Nice to see you. I love the beard.
No, thank you. Yeah, I was actually going to shave it off. I was telling him earlier. I actually thought about shaving it off, but maybe now I'll keep it. I don't know.
Grow it down to your nuts, brother.
Yeah, no kidding, right? Yeah.
It's grown super long. It
That's
looks
funny.
great.
All
I'm
right,
glad
Omar.
that you're alive because I was really worried there for a bit, and suddenly you dropped off. I saw you one day, and next day you were gone, and I didn't hear from you. I was like, oh fuck, I hope Clarence is okay. I
Yeah.
know you have health issues, and we got this coronavirus and riots and shit, and I was like, oh my god. And then a couple of days ago, I got good news, and I was like, oh okay, thank God. I'm assuming the
Well, I
worst, right?
appreciate that. Thank you.
Nice
Yeah,
to
I
see you.
haven't told anybody what actually happened, but I came back on like 2 months ago for like a day or two. It was all I had.
Yeah.
And back then I had internet problems as well, and I was switching companies and doing this and that, okay? So what happened was my cable itself that comes into the house somehow screwed up. I have no idea what happened, whether it got struck by lightning, because we did have some nasty storms, or something. And it took me forever to figure out what was going on, They had technicians out here, all kind of stuff. Not one person could find it. So finally one day I went out to the box that's out on a telephone pole where my cable was actually connected to, and I disconnected it. and I put on a meter, and I was checking the ground and stuff. Well, the damn thing was grounding itself out. So obviously there was a break in the wire someplace. So I had to run a whole complete 100 and some foot of cable above ground to the house and then plug it back in again. So that's what I'm running. But in the meantime, I was running out of money. I couldn't pay for the damn internet. I lost everything. So I had to wait until I got more money, to do that and whatever. So here I am twiddling my thumbs. Couldn't do a damn thing. I was so lost, man.
You know what you
It
should
was
do?
bad.
You got a PayPal? Throw your PayPal up in the comments, and get some donations to help pay
Either
for.
that or through this platform that you're using, you can get a what is it? It's that donation. I can't Patreon. You can hook Patreon. up to
Patreon,
it as
yeah.
well.
Yeah,
And you can
yeah.
ask for people to give you donations to keep yourself running. I'm hooking
Well,
that up
I
for mine
never-
as well.
Yeah, see, I've never done that, honestly. I always said that my
I
stuff
agree
is
with you.
free.
I try
And
to make everything free, right? Because
Yeah,
I
me
don't, want, I
too.
don't want to charge people money for it, but I got to eat and I have to have a roof over my head as well.
Yeah,
I'm
it's-
losing
Yeah.
hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands of dollars a year to keep my show alive. That's not a joke.
yeah,
Yeah,
Not even
I-
factoring in, internet. I don't even know the cost of that because that's just something that we pay for. But if you factor that in, I'm paying like $200 a month for phone, internet, and cable. So I don't know how much of that is internet. I could look it up on the bill. You know what I
Right.
mean? But then paying for the equipment, paying for the podcasts, paying
Right.
for everything that I use, editors.
well, it's
whole
not
nine.
cheap, that's for sure. Yeah,
not cheap.
yeah, it's not cheap.
I do
That's
everything
for damn
myself.
sure.
I'm the
That's it.
producer, the
I'm seeing
director.
comments.
I'm the guy that cuts the videos. I'm the guy that edits everything. Omar's the
Right.
same way. I got
I'm
my
seeing
editing program
comments
from
here.
Omar.
I'm seeing
Which I
comments that said that I donate, right? So yeah, you should
Oh,
get
wow.
PayPal and toss that up there, and because right now times are hard, especially because of the economy the way it is, the politics the way they are, the pandemic the way
Right.
it is. Everybody doesn't have access to secure income right now. So if
Yeah.
anyone out there that can donate a few bucks to help the cause to go further, then hey,
And
if
that
you
works
afford it,
too,
great.
Clarence.
If not,
I did
then
that
no
with the
worries.
girls. I did that with the girls in the Czech Republic. They had lousy equipment, and they're the ones who were channeling Oli,
Right.
the entity from the 15th dimension or something like that, 12th, and their computers were crap and they couldn't translate their stuff into English. I set her up with a PayPal account and we linked that, and I was asking people for donations, and now she has new equipment. People
Cool.
came in from across the world and put in $1 here, $1 there. Although it works
Yeah.
better when you're translating U.S. money into Czech money because $1 is like 40 Czech dollars.
Yeah,
I
Right.
got
With
50
inflation,
US dollars, so translate that. It was like 1,000 or 10,000 or something.
Wow, that's
crazy.
awesome.
Well, but
Yeah, lots of
still,
PayPal
every
on
dollar
there.
counts, right?
Right.
Yeah, toss a
that's awesome.
PayPal on there, Clarence. I'd recommend that. Toss it on. I'd donate too. Right.
Okay.
So toss a PayPal on there, and and if people can donate, fantastic. If not, then no hard feelings, no
Oh,
worries.
Dave,
Right.
that was the Ancient Aliens group that he's part of, right? Yeah, that's how I
Yeah.
met Clarence too, because I've created Ancient Aliens Worldwide, and he and I were the two biggest groups. He was a part of that one. Mine's
Yep.
like way surpassed that now, but at the time when I first started, his group that he was in was bigger than mine. And
Yeah.
as time went, mine got bigger than his, and now you can't find a group out there that has more than 250,000 members.
All right, guys.
you know.
I
All
got to
right,
bail. Thanks, David. Nice seeing you, buddy. Have a good night. Take care. Be safe.
Well, thank you,
Much
Omar, for
you
being
guys.
here. Yeah.
Sweating to death here. Holy shit.
Oh yeah, I wanted to point out too. The Facebook user said 40. Well, I'm working in 90. He's in Canada. They're not using.
Yeah,
Fahrenheit,
it's
he's using
Celsius. Yeah.
40 degrees Celsius is like 105, bro.
Exactly.
It's hot, man. It's really
Yeah.
hot.
Yeah,
Really
it's like 105, dude.
And then I had to close my windows there for a while because I had all that noise going in the background. And when I did that, I had air conditioning going too. But my air conditioner is a piece of shit, and it just really didn't cool the house down, mostly the living room. Right? So I'm over here just sweating to death. And when they left,
And
I
I'm
opened
sure
up
that
the
your
windows.
building, your windows face west, so the sun beats on you all day
Yeah.
until it goes down, right?
Yeah, it
I'm
literally
facing
does.
east. I get it in the morning until noon. It's all on
Yeah.
my windows, and then
I
after
get
that,
it.
it's all gravy.
I get it pretty much from about 9:30 in the morning all the way until like 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night. Right, so
Well, that
all
means
day
you're
long I
facing
gotta
south.
keep my
I mean, that means you're facing south, and it comes across to you.
yeah,
Oh, dude,
yeah,
that sucks.
yeah.
Yeah.
I got a good thing. I got a tomato plant in my window, and the thing is like 4 feet tall.
Yep.
Right?
I
So,
bet you
and
got
then the
big
only
fat
thing about
softball
this tomato
sized
plant,
tomatoes,
yeah,
right?
Amy brought it home, and it was probably just a seedling. It was like the size of my hand, and then Gilbert knocked it over one day and snapped the
Oh
plant
boy.
in half. Right, so it like literally snapped in half. I was like, oh shit! So I grabbed it and then I just put it together and leaned it up against the window, hoping that it'll heal itself and it'll grab, right? And
And it
holy
did.
shit, did it ever, man? I don't see it. I can't even see where the thing actually snapped, and right, because it was just like literally, it was like fucking broken in half.
Broke it in half. But you know what?
Now it's like,
Right.
Plants heal
yeah,
just like
now
we
it's like
do.
four
Yeah.
feet tall and just a healthy plant, and I'm surprised. It's like, wow, that's amazing that a plant was going to do that. Because I was going to toss it, right? But then I was like, no, let me see how nature works, right? So I tried it, and boom, nature proved herself correct that she
I
can
do that with everything.
fix
People,
and
when I'll
heal
throw a
anything.
plant out and I'll look at it and I'll go, there's still life in this plant. But like, I don't know, it looks pretty dead. I'm like, no, I'll take it. And I
Yeah,
take the plant back and they come over my house like a year later and I have this big giant bush. And they're like,
yeah,
wow, man, well, that's nice. I'm like, that's your plant you gave me. It was dead.
yeah. Okay, guys, better run. Much love
All
to you
right,
guys.
Omar. Have a good night, brother.
Thank you,
Yes.
Clarence.
Thank you. Glad
I'll
to
catch
have
up
you.
with you in Messenger, bro.
All right. Sounds good.
Coolies, man. Okay, guys. Leo, I'll message you too, brother. Have a
Cool.
good night.
All right,
I'm
bro.
gonna go jump in a cold shower, man. I'm dying.
Do it, baby.
Be
Cool.
safe out
Beer.
there, guys. Stay safe. Don't act US, and stand your ground. And that's really all you can do. Much love to you guys, and catch you guys later.
Thank you. You too. Awesome.
Okay, and then we're two.
Yeah.
Right? And then
You
we're
got a
two.
few minutes? I wanted to run this Carl
Hey, yeah, go ahead.
Tuckerson.
I'm not in any hurry. I
Okay.
told my mom, who I'm her caregiver, I said, if you get hungry, make a sandwich. So I'm just chilling. Man.
There you go. Cool. Okay, so like I said earlier during the very beginning of the show, Tucker Carlson got duped
Yeah,
by the
did.
New York Times.
Yep.
And basically, it's about the TTSA, the Tic Tac UFOs, blah, 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 all that stuff. Okay. So let me play this. Let me share this with you guys.
Yeah, you were going to do
And
that earlier, and we never got around to it, huh? We just took
yeah,
off.
that's okay. But I wanted to get this out to people so they understand what's happening. Because right now, everybody that saw that Fox News deal with Tucker Carlson thinks that we got disclosure. And that's not the case. So I just wanted to point this out to folks so they know what's happening. Okay. So let me
Well, now,
grab this.
Is this the article where they said that they had a picture of a UFO? Because I saw that. Did you see that? This was tied to
no.
that article. This was tied to that article. They had a picture, and it was the New York Times, right? The ones that got him.
Right.
Yeah. See, so they had floated a picture of UFO that it looks valid. It's not a UFO. It's actually an American warplane, but long range reconnaissance and a bomber. But it does look like a UFO.
Oh, I
But
know
most
what
of our
you're
planes
talking
now-
about. Yeah. You're talking
That
about
one-
the
that one
triangle
dropped.
craft that's on the.
No, that one's real. I have the patent for that I pop up on my show when I do the slideshow. I have the patent request number and the whole nine. So that's real. That's ours. But not that one. It's another one that looks. It's an aircraft, but it looks like a spaceship, and it has intake manifolds on the front, like this on the sides, and then it has a fuselage where the pilot sits in there and looking out a window. But it looks like a UFO, almost traditional. But people who know aviation can spot that it's not.
Gotcha.
But just at the naked eye would think it was a UFO. They dropped that the day before, so that was part of that report, I think. And then they dropped this, and then they retracted it on Tucker. So go ahead and play that for people who didn't see what I saw and what you saw.
Yeah, this well, basically what this is, it's Tucker Carlson read a New York Times article, and it's mainly about the TTSA, which is Tom DeLonge and all them guys, and Lorenzo, and yada yada yada,
Right.
and a couple others. And as he was reading the article, I guess, or whoever wrote it or read it, wrote the deal for Tucker to go on live and make a claim that they have now got, vehicles not from this world. Okay. So he went live on on national news, and this is what he said. So let me grab this here. Okay. I hope you guys can hear this. I'll turn it up if I have to. If it'll play now.
Right.
Come on.
You always love it when it does that, right?
Oh, I tell you. Let me see if I can.
Well, no, that photo that's up there is a real photo. That's the Tic Tac. I had the
Right,
video.
that's a ticket. Let me refresh this real quick.
Yep. It sat there too long and timed out. That's what happened.
Yeah, I think so.
Yep.
So now I'll probably get a damn commercial, which I don't want.
Yeah, that's
And,
okay, right? Because you primed it before, so now because you didn't get to play it right away, right? Now you'll have a commercial. This is the way you know how it is, brother. This is the live
crazy, eh?
shows. When you go in your first one back, you know it's going to be an issue every time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So the July 24th issue, yes, that was the one that it had the picture, and then they popped this one out on the 27th or 28th, and that's what Tucker was. No. That was the 20. I think it's the 24th, like you're saying. I think this is the one he's
24th, yeah.
referring to. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if it comes back here, come on now.
So this is your Times article, not a photo. So that's the one that Tucker Carlson's talking about is the one without the photo. There was one that happened right after that had a photo.
One common misconception from
But I can't
forex
find
traders about
Okay, I gotta kill the
Yeah, gotta wait
music
for
on
the
that so they
commercial.
can't hear it.
is that the fundamentals
Oh,
of
come
the
on.
The sound is
long-term
working, by the way.
component with
I can hear it, so that
policy
you know that when it starts playing
and
Tucker.
interest rates.
You just gotta wait for this. Now you can skip it. Go over and click the skip. There you go.
Hopefully it'll skip. Yeah.
Right. Sometimes you do that and it kills the feed. I hate that. There we go.
This is a Fox News alert. There are new findings.
It's a little low, but I can
tonight
hear it.
in the search for extraterrestrial life.
See if you can turn
New
the
York
sound up a
Times
bit,
reporting
Clarence.
that a secretive Pentagon unit tasked with investigating UFO sightings
Okay.
is quite likely releasing some of its findings soon, and those findings could be stunning.
Those of you with
particularly
earbuds
for
probably
people
can
who
hear
have
fine.
doubted the existence. The Pentagon has been conducting classified hearings on UFOs for more than a decade.
That's
We know
good,
very
Clarence.
little about what they've found, but apparently just recovered are off-world vehicles not made on this Earth. That's a direct quote. We're
You
not
hear what he said?
exactly
Yeah.
sure
Yeah.
what they mean by that, but some of it's self-evident. So it's a big story, and we are scouring through the reporting on it right now. We'll bring you much more right here tomorrow night.
So there you go. That was what he did on the
That would have been the 25th.
on the article. Okay. Okay. So let me come back and I'll share screen this one more time. And we will bring this up. There we go. Can everybody see this okay?
Yeah.
Okay. No longer in shadows, Pentagon UFO unit will make some findings public. Okay. Now we know that the Pentagon did come out and say that, eventually they're going to be releasing more stuff, yada, yada, as it comes about, right?
Right.
And so this is the article that Tucker Carlson was actually reading from, or parts of it, okay?
Right.
And let me see if I can scroll down here and I can show you the actual wording here where it says off-world vehicles. Let's see here.
Well, and we do have those. That's been, they just haven't disclosed that.
Yeah.
And the videos that are from the 80s, like Tic Tac that he was showing in the video thereof, I've seen the investigation where they talked to the pilots that were involved with that guy that you're seeing.
Yeah,
on the screen now.
that's Lou Elizondo there,
Yeah, and
which
he's
I
still
really don't care
currently-
for.
Yeah, you know
Yeah.
what it is. He means well. He knows that they're lying. He still has a high clearance, and he knows that they're lying, and he knows that alien spaceships are ours, so they're not alien. He knows they are, and he's trying to disclose it, but he can't come right out and say it because he's bound by his secrecy. If he does, they can arrest him for treason. So what he's trying to do is go around and go to older stuff that doesn't have anything to do with him. It's just like when I interviewed the real Fox Mulder from from the X-Files, the guy who they based that on. His name's John D'Souza, and I interviewed him for Portal to Ascension on their radio network, Portal to Ascension radio network. And it was 2 years ago or a year and a half ago when they had a big event. They were going around the whole world with him. They still do it, and he still does. And he could talk to me about any other FBI cases that he knew about, but he couldn't talk about his own. And
Right.
him and Chris Carter got in trouble because he confirmed on air that the first season, he wouldn't tell me how many episodes of the first season, but a good portion of the first season are actual real case files that he worked on when he was in the FBI.
Right.
But him and Chris Carter got in trouble. The FBI sued them and told them cease and desist with actual cases that are yours, or we're going to arrest you. And because you still have a clearance, because he was at that time he was still FBI. Well, even now he can't talk about that stuff, but he does tell you, yeah, that if you go, but I can't tell you what episodes. But go and watch the first season of X-Files, and most of those are real. Yeah.
Well, this here is Eric Davis, okay, and he's a astrophysicist, right?
Yep.
And he worked as a subcontractor, and a consultant for the Pentagon, okay? And this is where he says, well, he was quoted as being saying, Mr. Davis, who now works for Aerospace Corporation, a defense contractor, said he gave a classified briefing to a Defense Department agency as recently as March about retrievals from off-world vehicles not made on this earth.
Yep.
Okay, so this is the part that Tucker Carlson was talking about. Okay,
Right.
and this is the New York Times dated July 24th. All right, as you scroll down to the very bottom, look at this correction, July 24th. An early version of this article inaccurately rendered remarks attributing Harry Reid, Majority Leader, Nevada Reid. He believed the crash's objects unknown origin may have occurred and the other retrieved materials should be studied. He did not say that crashes had occurred and that retrieval materials have been studied secretly for decades. Earlier version also misstated the frequency in which the Director of National Intelligence is supposed to report an identified aerial phenomena. It is 180 days after enactment of the Intelligent Authorization Act, not every 6 months. But anyway, it also went on to say on how they misquoted Mr. Davis and everybody else, So the whole thing was, it was just, the editor for the New York Times, for whatever reason, went back and put this in there afterwards, So it made everybody look like an idiot that heard that and had read it, and by the time anyone, they started talking about it throughout the community, then they come in with this retraction and say, oops, sorry,
Right, but I mean, it's true. Just like I don't know who it is because they didn't give consent for their name, but they wrote, we all know that they're real. They are. I've seen one, more than one in my lifetime. I never got a picture of it, but the last time was in 2016 in September. I was driving from Arizona to San Diego to go and look at the yacht that I ended up buying, and I was up in the mountains going over the Grapevine from the Arizona side, dropping down into San Diego, and I was at the top, which is at 4,700 feet up, and there's nothing there but big giant rocks and boulders on that mountain there, and the highway. And I'm driving along, and all of a sudden I look over to my left, and there's nothing there but the mountains and then the ocean, and there was the cigar-shaped UFO just there and I'm driving doing 75 on the freeway, looking up and looking back, looking to see if it's some sort of aircraft. Now, I preface that with, and you should know this, that when I grew up, we were handed the aircraft silhouettes that the military used, and my buddies who joined the Marine Corps, we used to play that game where we looked at every single helicopter and we memorized the silhouette from every angle, every single military craft used by the human race. at that time. So I've gotten very used to doing that. I can see it 5 miles out. I can tell you what is. And I used to play this game with my son, and he can do the same thing. Right? We were standing at my work one day, and I said, "There's a helicopter coming," and I look. I'm like Radar O'Reilly. I could hear if you guys are old enough to remember MASH, I can hear the helicopter on the wind. I feel it in my ears, and so I turned and I said, "It's there," and it's like 5 miles out. Right. And at the time, right, I'm wearing reading glasses to see the screen, but at the time I had 2015 vision, 2010. Right.
Wow.
So 2020 normal people have. 2010 is super vision. I could read a street sign at like a half a mile away, almost a mile away. Most people can't go past 100 yards. So I look up. My son looks up. He also has 2010. I look up and I said it's an Apache, and he goes, "No, it looks like a CH-53. CH-53 is with the new Huey. It's big, right? And an Apache is really skinny and it looks like a wasp." Right, it looks like a bee, and it flies like a bumblebee or a regular bee. So I said, "No, it's an Apache, and there's 2 of them." And we waited and waited and waited and waited, and it turned out it was 2 Apaches. I'm good at that. So when I look at an aircraft, it takes me less than a second to identify it, and especially any American aircraft, even the new ones. Okay, because I keep up on any of the stuff unless they keep it secret. Okay, so that aircraft was a cigar-shaped, plugs at both ends, black, round, and it didn't taper down, bam, like this. And as I looked at it, it disappeared. It didn't take off at the speed of light. They cloaked. They literally went from being there. When I looked up at it, I'm looking away, I look back up at it, I'm looking away, I look up at it, and as I looked at it, it went shoot, gone. Okay? And I've seen photos where they've caught these on tape dumping shit into the atmosphere, and they said, "Look here, the captain forgot to put on a cloaking device," and we couldn't see it with our eyes. They were taking a picture of a house they were going to buy, and they were up on a hill, and they took the picture, and when they developed picture, or when they looked at the picture that they took on their phone, they could see the UFO in the air, but they couldn't see it with their eyes.
Yeah.
And I've seen that photo. And
I've heard of that.
I worked for most of my life chasing UFOs and professionally proofing videos and pictures. Okay, so that was my job. I got paid to do that. So when I look at a picture, this is why I did Ancient Aliens Worldwide, because 99% of everything that I look at, I go, "That's not real." And every now and then I go, "Oh, wait, that's compelling." So when I look at pictures, I know what to look for, especially on a computer, because I bring them up and I look at the pixels, and you cannot blend a picture to where I'm not going to see the pixel difference of something you overlaid onto a picture. Okay, I'm a professional. I don't do it anymore, but that's what I used to do for a living. So this is not something that I'm not just some guy that went, "I'm going to make up this thing because I like Ancient Aliens, and I'm going to make I've been literally chasing UFOs, and I was recruited by the Air Force at 11 years old. They wanted to get me into the junior academy to put me into the deep state, and I didn't do it. I refused. Okay,
Wow.
I had them chase me until I was 24. And I got married, and then they stopped chasing me, but they wanted me in the military. I was tested. They came to my school. I've talked about this on my show. They came to my school and handpicked one person from different classes to come out of the class and go in and get tested in this RV that was all cubicles. And you were assigned a person in a lab coat with a clipboard, and you were only to speak to them. And when you sat down in the cubicle, you put on earmuffs or hearing muffs. And you couldn't hear anything that they were hearing and the other things. And you were to do a task in there, and they tested us on everything. They tested us on our cognitive abilities, our precog abilities. They tested us on our mechanical skills. They tested us on reverse engineering skills. And I scored high across the board on everything.
Wow.
I can reverse engineer anything. You hand me something, I can take it apart and put it back together. So I can take it apart and see how it works and put it back together. And I figure that shit out. I also can break just about any code. Right? They wanted me as a code breaker and a reverse engineer, right? And I'm also empathic. I have all kinds of crazy abilities that they wanted.
Right.
Well, the reason I have all those abilities is because I'm a wanderer. Okay?
Right.
I have come back, returned here to help people on this planet. So because of that, they were trying to get a hold of me and get me into the organization before I realized, and I was already awake at that time. So there are UFOs, they are real, they just won't admit it yet. But insiders I've talked, you know how many insiders I've talked to?
Oh,
how many
sure.
CIA
Yeah,
agents, how many
absolutely.
military agents, how many people that work for Skunk Works. We've gotten, old man Lockheed before he died, old man Martin, old man Lear before they died, all of them of cancer. The American
Right,
government loves to
yeah.
kill you with cancer. All those guys came out and did videos. I had them on Ancient Aliens Worldwide. Clarence had them in his group. They all made videos saying all that stuff's real. We have all that shit, man.
Yeah,
So
no,
they
I
just
got a
won't-
few of them videos. Yeah,
Yeah,
Omar's got a few.
I know you did because you had them up on your group. We talked about them before when we were
Yeah.
on air and before a while ago, a couple years ago when we first met.
Right.
So this stuff is out there, guys. People say, "Show me the proof." I have one of my nephews says that. Show me the proof. He laughs. Oh, aliens! You're one of those guys. Show me the proof. I'm like, the proof is actually there. You just won't see it.
Yeah. See, I it's funny because I was on Goof on Radio last night with Richard Giordano. Richard and I get along really well. I love Richard's show, And I called in last night because he had a thing going on. It was saying, "I don't believe aliens exist. Prove me wrong."
Right.
Call in.
Oh, I wish I was on the air then, or otherwise I'd have been on there too. I would have
Right.
loved to have been on there.
But it's ironic because when you really stop and think about it, it is hard personally to prove that aliens do exist. Even though you may have had been abducted or whatever.
That's what they count on. That's what they count on.
Right, exactly. And it is a tough ordeal. So.
Well,
Yeah.
I put out videos and I have them on my other YouTube channel because I have 3 YouTube channels, and one I'm doing I'm talking about the way. And if you look at Orion Rising and you look at what I'm about, you'll see that was up there before I learned what the Law of One was. And basically, I was preaching and still am the Law of One, not knowing the Law of One,
Right.
not reading those books at all. And now I have. So last 2 years I've dedicated Friday night to the Law of One.
Yeah.
And that's why Clarence went late tonight, because he didn't want to compete with me. He said, "I'll wait for you so much on my show."
Right.
So I said, "Okay." So that's why we didn't come on until 6, because he was waiting for me, and I went 4 to 5. And then we bullshitted for 45 minutes and missed our window and had to wait till 6 to go live.
That's okay. It happens. Yeah.
Right? But the truth is, it is hard because you can show them. I have videos that I put up. I posted, actually, if you go to Ancient Aliens Worldwide, and then I think the announcements are still up there. I post videos there, and I did it for like when they hit earmark numbers, like you're getting up on 250,000 members.
Right.
I'll probably make a video for that event. And what I do is I try to show you all the images that you see in the videos are all the images that I've taken from the group, from people who have posted those images in the group and different things when they're talking about. And so I go through all the photos because we have hundreds of thousands of photos because we
Right.
created that. I created that group in 2015. 2015, 2012.
Yeah.
September of 2012. So we have a birthday coming up in September for Ancient Aliens Worldwide, and we're planning an event and possibly a raffle as well. We were going to raffle off my book. Omar and I were going to do this for last year's event when we did the second anniversary of the Law of One, or the first anniversary of the Law of One. And the second anniversary is coming up. And I just had my anniversary for the 3rd year for Orion Rising. And we did a big 12-hour event for that, a webinar, just
Wow.
under 12 hours. And then the week prior, Omar had his 5-year anniversary
Oh, that's right.
for
He
Watchers
did, yeah.
Talk. And we did a 15-hour event, and I co-hosted his, and then he co-hosted mine.
Yeah.
the
I was
next-
sorry I
the next
missed that.
Friday.
I was supposed to have been on that show.
You were
and of
supposed to
course-
be on that.
Yeah.
You were off air.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only reason
was
that I
off
was,
air.
he asked me to co-host because you couldn't make it.
Yeah.
I was just going to be there in the crowd to talk and chat. And he said, "Clarence, I don't know what's going on. Clarence is gone, man. You want to be my co-host?"
Yeah.
I said, "Sure." And so he pushed me into the slot, and I stayed, and I did 10 of the 15 hours with him.
Wow, that's crazy. That's awesome.
Yeah, and he did everything with me.
but it's-
When we did mine, he did the whole. We did 11 hours and 50 minutes, and he did the whole thing. Sat in with me the whole time. It was pretty badass. We had a good time. But
Well, that's
I just
awesome,
can't do
though,
them
that
long
you
anymore.
guys, I mean, to stop and think about it, Omar's just now doing his 5th year. You're into, your 3rd year?
Third
Something
year,
like
yeah.
the 3rd year? And
Yeah,
Rob's
third
just now
anniversary. So
starting.
the truth is, I'm starting on my 4th year because I've done 3 years now. And
Right.
Omar's actually starting on his 6th year
sixth
because
year,
he's had
yeah.
5 birthdays. He started 5
Right.
years ago. Yeah.
Right.
So
And
I'm going
Rob
on
is
my 4th
starting,
year
Rob's coming in, this
He's
year.
just starting
you
out
know.
this year.
And
He's, what is he,
I
2
feel
months
old,
right?
man. I really do.
You are. You're one of the old guys. You and I are the old
I
guys
feel
here.
old.
And yeah. You
It's
and
funny.
Omar are the old dudes, and Dino from Paranormal End of the Night. But Dino's got issues. So he can't be on the air right now. He's got a lot of stress and anxiety. He already fights anxiety really hard,
Right.
and he's never told anybody this. And he'll probably get mad if he hears me saying this for me telling the world. But the reason that Paranormal Into the Night's not on the air currently is that he has problems with anxiety, and the COVID-19 is got him over the board. He can't.
Oh, I'm
he can't
sure.
broadcast. Yeah, he can't.
I wish
And
him
I'm
luck.
working on him. I'm trying to get him back, and he says he's healing. I hope to get him back on air because he's the one that gave me the bug. I told you that earlier.
Yeah.
Right? He's the one that got me to do it when he interviewed me for Orion Rising. And any of you guys out there that read my books, don't get angry because there's spelling errors and grammatical errors. I did all those and produced them myself. I didn't want to pay $2,000 to $5,000 for a professional editor, so I said, "Fuck it, I'm putting these books out there because they need to be." So
Exactly.
don't go Democratic progressive on me and go, "Dude, I'm taking your book serious." If you learned how to spell, there's guys out there that did that, authors that would do that, and they would type it the raw, and they published that way and told everybody, "No, leave it all in. That's the way I wrote it, and that's the way it's going to be published." So I didn't do that on purpose. I did it because I didn't want to pay money. Okay, I had to produce the whole thing
Nothing wrong with
myself
that.
and
Yeah.
pay for it. I went through a publishing company, and the only thing they did for me was made that for me.
Make the book, make the thing.
That's
yeah.
it. I created the artwork on here, right?
Wow.
I created the artwork on here, everything that was there. All the photos that are in here that you see that are in my book, you see all the time because they're literally on Ancient Aliens Worldwide. I took them from my own group, and I put them into the book, and everything in there was me. And same thing with my other two books. The other two I wanted to make as one book. The prepping and the banking I wanted as one book, but people who were into the global banking conspiracies weren't necessarily preppers. So I hate that word, survivalists. But at the time,
Survivors, yeah.
Doomsday Preppers was on television. Because I'm a survivalist. I've been my entire life. My father was a survivalist, and he taught us from a very young age. And I got go bags everywhere. I was just talking to my ex-wife. She said her brother's doing the same thing. And she says, "Do you know, I need a list of things that I need to put into a bug out bag. Would you have that list?" I said, "I wrote a book about it. You have my book."
Exactly.
And she goes, "Oh my God, is that list in there?" And I said, "Yeah." So she started reading that, and she was like, "Oh my God." And then I sent her a couple videos that I made prior to deciding to write the book. When I started making videos, I have them up on my YouTube channel. I have them on two different channels where I did the videos and I posted them. Some are on Orion Rising and some are on my other one. You just look up my name. I have two under my name and then Orion Rising. So I have 3 channels total. And one of them has the two of them have the early videos that are 5-6 years ago of Ancient Aliens that I did, or no, some prepping. And then I said, I'm going to write a book, so I wrote a book. But you know what? Anybody who is having problems right now with the COVID virus and everything that's happened, had you read my book, you wouldn't have any issues. Had you done what I told you to do in my book, you would be just like me. People were like, "Hey, how's it working out for you?" I'm like, "Well, other than I underestimated how long the ass wipes were going to be off the market."
Right.
In my book, I tell you that. That's what we call them, ass wipes. The most important thing, gold, is going to be toilet paper. I don't have one. I used to have one sitting here to show people. I took it and moved it, probably gave it to my
They're
mom.
going to tear the pages out of your book. That's what they're going to do.
Right? I mean, it almost got like that. So, well, then what I ended up doing was getting baby wipes because they were still in stock. Everything else was
Right,
gone.
yeah.
I took the baby wipes. A buddy of mine uses those exclusively anyway. But what I also did was I ordered 2 bidets.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And I'm like, if toilet paper is going to stay out of stock, I'm going to install a bidet and just do like everybody else on the planet. We're the only ones
wash
that
it.
are barbaric
Yeah.
that take a piece of wood and scrape it across our ass to wipe our
Yeah.
butts when we poop. Everybody else has a
Garden
bidet. You go to any other country in Europe, they all have bidets. You know,
Yeah,
I
they
don't
do.
think they have any toilet paper anywhere.
Yep.
You know, they have bidets. You go sit down on the toilet and they cleans your butt.
Yep.
Right?
Exactly. I laughed at myself when I was in the military back in the 80s. I joined in 1980, and I went over to Italy for 2 years, 2.5 years.
Right.
And that's how I got introduced to that. I had an apartment off base, and first thing I noticed was this thing with the freaking shower head in the middle of it. And I'm like, well, that's got to be for women's personal hygiene, right?
Right.
That's what I figured it was for,
Yep.
And we got to
Well, you know, they
talking
have
about
different
it at
jets
work.
for that.
and
They have a jet for your butt and a jet for your coochie.
yeah,
One I bought
and the,
has that 'cause
the
my
guys at
mom-
work were ribbing me about it, and they're like, "That's for you too, man. That works for everybody." And I'm
Works
like,
for everybody.
"What do I know?"
Right?
Yeah, funny.
right? Yeah, and then especially if you don't have heated water, right? That's
Exactly.
Ooh, hey, that's cold. That's cold.
That's
right?
what
A
I
goose.
said. Yeah.
Get a goose, get an early morning goose, wake you up, right? Or if you hit the wrong
That's
button
funny.
and it squirts your penis or your balls, right? Hey, I don't have anything. Oh, okay, well, maybe you needed to wash that,
That's funny.
right? So yeah. So getting back to all this stuff, guys, those of you who are still out there and you're still paying attention to us, and, we laugh and joke, and but the seriousness is this. Like Omar said, this is a war. There was a coup because they didn't expect. When Mike Bloomberg paid $65 million, he was buying the election for Hillary Clinton. He
Right.
spent $80 million, almost $90 million on his own election that fizzled out this time. He bragged on television during the debates that he purposely that he paid for
Right.
the 28 Democrats that got them the House. He bragged about that. And he was telling people the powers that should be, in his mind, that you guys need to back me as the candidate because I'm the one that put you guys in power. Okay, and that's what he was telling them. George Soros is the same thing. George Soros was the guy behind the whole coup attempt. Him and the Hillary Clinton Foundation, the DNC. And those of you who are Democrats and you think it's a conspiracy theory, you don't want to hear it. When the IG report comes out, just like Rob said, when the IG report comes out, you're going to hear about it. The only reason why they're not putting it out now, they're stalling. Because if they put it out now, guys, and you guys realize what's going on and who's going to be tried for treason and sedition,
Right.
that you're going to say, and they're all going to say, and everyone's going to say, 100%, the only reason Donald Trump's doing this is politics because he wants to win the election. That's why he's backed off the narrative about Biden and his son and how much money him and the family made off of China. Because they'll go after him and say he's only going after him because it's his opponent. So after he beats his opponent, then they can't say that. So when he
Right.
beats his opponent and or he dies, and then he starts investigating the family, what are you guys going to say that are the progressive Democrats now? Oh, see, now he's kicking a dead horse.
It sure makes you wonder why these people like Hillary Clinton hasn't been put in jail yet.
Because she's part of the cabal, bro.
I'm just
she's
saying,
related.
when you
she's
stop and
related
look
to
at it,
everybody else. They're all related. Donald Trump's even related to them, but he's in service to self, not in service to self. He's in service to others. He's not in service to self. They're all in service to self. The Kennedys were the same way. That's why they killed the Kennedys. John was not in service to self, and neither was his brother. And he wanted to tell the world about the UFOs, and that those were ours, and we had spaceships. So they killed him. And this is true. You can look this up, guys. They killed him. In fact, his wife, when he got shot, and she realized he got shot when the first one went through his left shoulder, she said, "Oh my God, they're killing you."
right. Yeah.
So she, in her mind, it wasn't you're being assassinated by some lone gunman on a grassy knoll.
Right.
In her mind, you don't say that word. They are killing you. She had an idea in her head who they were. They are killing you. So she knew he was being assassinated by our people. Okay?
Seems to me that somewhere I heard another deal. I'm going to have to look this up, and don't quote me on this, but didn't she also say after he had died or was in the, as they were racing around, didn't she say they killed him?
Yeah.
Wasn't that one of her other quotes?
Well, and
also?
think about it.
They
Think
killed
about
him?
how quickly
Yeah.
his vice president got himself sworn in as president. He wasn't even dead an hour.
No, right.
And he was on Air Force One when he's supposed to be on Air Force Two, being sworn in, and he did that with her on the plane.
On the plane.
Okay, and
Yeah.
here's another thing that you need to ask yourself. It doesn't matter now because he's dead, but you need to ask this question. Why is it that George Bush Sr., who was in the CIA at the time, who was in Texas at the time, when questioned about his whereabouts when the president got shot in 1962, he said that he cannot divulge his whereabouts. Okay, so he wouldn't talk about his whereabouts. Right after that, the new president, the vice president who became president, appointed him director of the CIA. He was director of the CIA until Ronald Reagan decided to run for president and asked him to become his vice president. He then went on to become basically the president while Ronald Reagan had Alzheimer's. Him and Dick Cheney ran the place.
Yeah.
Okay, and then became the president right after that, and then put his son in charge. And guess who his son hired? Dick Cheney. the guy who was running the government when Reagan had Alzheimer's, who was
Right.
appointed. And if you think that that's a conspiracy theory, Leo, you're tripping. There's nothing to that. There's nothing there. Then I ask you to go and look up the very first executive order signed by George Herbert Walker Bush Sr.
Yep.
The first executive order was the CIA can no longer assassinate any president or leader of any country without the express written consent from the President of the United States. Why would he do that? The very first thing. He ran into office and got that done before anybody could do anything about him being the president. Think about this. That's all fact you can look up. It's not a
did
conspiracy
something?
theory. It's all fact you can look up. And the government has to give you certain knowledge. They do redact things, and in the old days they used to redact like 90% of the stuff.
Oh,
But now
sure.
that they've been outed for that, they only redact stuff that is going to get someone killed. And people don't want to believe that. And I'm all right with that. And if you want to believe that they're redacting shit that you need to know, eventually they have to let it out. Once that is no longer valid, they'll drop that information. But at the time, you know, they redact that. They can't just redact shit willy-nilly. Because if they could, why wouldn't they just shred it?
Right.
Okay, why wouldn't they just shred that stuff? I'm thinking, why would, you know, there's this documents laying around. If I wanted a document to go away, I would do like, oh, I'm sorry, Hillary Clinton did with 30,000 emails. She destroyed everything that might have the emails on it.
Right.
Okay, and that's not a lie either. That's not made up. That wasn't pretend. If you were watching C-SPAN like I was, you saw her sitting in front of Congress, and they said, the question to her, why are you going out in public and saying that there are no 30,000 emails, or any emails for that matter, on any server that was classified, when I have this stack, and they had a stack this tall.
Yeah, it was
8 inches.
like this thick.
Blam!
Yeah, I remember that.
I have a stack this tall of classified information that came off of
remember
your
that.
server. And we're still trying to find, because first they said there was like 90,000 or 100,000. So they got like the first 30,000, and the rest of it they got rid of, because
Well,
they
she had
got
it whitewashed.
Anthony Weiner's
Remember that?
laptop.
Yeah.
And Anthony Weiner's laptop was what gave them those emails that she
Right.
said didn't exist.
Yeah.
Okay? So if that's the case, and all that's a conspiracy theory, guys, then how come she destroyed her cell phone and her computers and her server and had it all bleach pit? They
Yeah.
poured bleach all over it and beat it up with hammers. That's real.
Yeah,
That really
because
happened.
she lied about that. She said, yeah, we had a program called Whitewash or some damn thing like that. That
Right.
you know, they come to find out they just destroyed them. I mean, literally, you know. Yeah. That was
Well, and then
crazy.
like that article came out and Q Public did not care. Well, you know what happens is that a lot of the people, you know, they look at you have to understand that anytime that the progressives want to say that you or don't know what you're talking about, they immediately say that wild, crazy conspiracy theory. Think about how many times they said that. Every
Right.
time Donald Trump opens his mouth, they call it a conspiracy theory. Okay.
course,
So no
yeah.
matter what, it's a conspiracy theory. So hydroxychloroquine is a conspiracy theory. But yet the person who said that in an article where they said we tested it and it doesn't work had to retract that statement 3 days ago.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay, so then you have Anthony Fauci who comes out. I just talked about this yesterday on my show.
Yep.
You were there,
Yep.
Clarence.
Yep.
And Anthony Fauci comes out yesterday and says that hydroxychloroquine doesn't work at all.
Right. Yeah.
Okay,
he said
that
that.
doesn't work at all. What's his motivation for saying that? You say, why would he say that? Why would he just lie about that?
Same
Well,
reason why he
because
wants us to
him
wear
and the
goggles.
director of the CDC are
Yeah.
business partners, and they own a pharmaceutical company,
Yep.
and that pharmaceutical company is working on 2 vaccines. So if hydroxychloroquine becomes the cure,
Yep.
then only that pharmaceutical company makes the money, and that guy who owns it, he's not talking about it either. You know why? Because he also is developing 2 vaccines. Well, what does that matter if we get a vaccine? Whoever gets the vaccine bill is going to inoculate 9 billion people. Do you understand how much money that is? That's more money than the cabal currently owns.
Well, you know what wouldn't surprise me any? If they weren't taking the hydroxy and the sulfur and stuff like that, adding it all together, and they'll put it in a liquid form and sell it as a vaccine.
That might be what they're doing now.
You know, that's
It
what
might
I'm
be what they're
thinking.
doing.
Yeah,
They might
it
be
wouldn't
literally
surprise me a
taking
bit.
hydroxychloroquine and synthesizing that and calling it something different with
Yep.
zinc and uracilmycin, or however you say it.
Right.
Put that together and say, look, we came up with a vaccine. Absolutely, bro. And we
Yeah.
wouldn't know that because they would not tell us what's in it.
Nope.
So they could
Absolutely not.
effectively do that exact
Yeah.
same thing. So, you know,
wouldn't
why
surprise
that's
me.
a conspiracy theory. They wouldn't do that. No, bro, this is reality. If
Exactly.
you understood how global banking in 1904, Henry Ford was quoted as saying, if the average American understood how the global economics actually worked, there would be a revolution today. That's a direct quote.
Wow.
Because it was true. You don't understand how global economics work. Most people don't.
Right.
They've never taken a civics class, they've never taken an economics class, and they haven't
Yep.
taken social economics, and they haven't taken world social economics. Okay? If you take those classes, take a civics class, it'll teach you something. And most people don't have that in their forte. Because of that, you guys don't understand what is going on in the world and how the world works. Okay? So when you hear it, and when people like me say to you what's happening, you go, that's crazy, can't be true, that's a conspiracy theory, that's, you know, that's B613 shit from the TV show.
Yeah, right.
You know, but it is true, guys. The only reason why there's wars is because certain group of people, like Clarence was saying earlier, there's like 7 families that own and operate everything, and everybody below them is the pyramid goes down from there.
Exactly.
Okay, and we're at the very bottom, the base, and we don't get to, you know, we're living in huts. When you guys ever see that movie Elysium, it's like that for real. We just can't look up and see the base that they're living on because it's not floating in space.
It's
The
ridiculous.
truth is, the rich and the elite can go off world, and we're living in huts down here in squalor, and
Pretty
they're
much.
living on spaceships flying around like the movie Jupiter Rising. That movie is true story. That movie talks about hydroxychloroquine, and that the humans are being grown just so that they can siphon that shit out and sell it to other people. It's the biggest drug on the face of the earth. It's the crack of the universe.
He does something. Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And the only way they can get it out of you is they have to scare you. They have to have you in a vibrational state of mind like we're in now, just above barbaric. And then they have to get you so stressed out, like they're doing, say, with the COVID-19 virus.
Right.
And now you're stressed out. Your whole life is up and down, and down is up. You don't know if you have a job. Then you're staying at home. You got to lock down. Nothing seems to work, but everything works, and there's no cure. Look out. We're all going to die. Now put on a mask. Wait, goggles. Next thing you know, they're going to be, you know, selling you on a chip, or like that one woman said, that goop that you're going to wipe on your head, the jelly, and it's going to have nanites in it. Okay, and that's something that she said is in the works. I posted that video. She whistle blew that, and I put that on my show, and I posted that video. You can look at that, Orion Rising, on YouTube or on
Scary
Facebook.
stuff, man.
And she worked for FEMA for 25 years, and she was telling about everything and the way it was going to go. And I've had other insiders tell me the same thing that didn't sound, you know, woohoo, you know, they didn't sound cuckoo, who told me the same thing. Look, this is the way. Werner von Braun, when NASA threw him out because he wanted to go public as well, he actually came out and said, this is how it's going to progress. And if you listen to what he said, you can look this up. Look this up. You'll find this. He actually said everything that's happened in the global world as far as wars from that time until now, that the United States was going to be propped up as the money, and that they were going to go to war in Korea, and they were going to go to war in Vietnam, they were going to go to war in the Middle East over oil. All of that was planned by the cabal to seize different parts of the planet and to kill a bunch of people off.
Sure.
Okay, and everything he said, and I didn't believe it when I first heard it. Someone told me that. I said, that is not true. I don't think that's true. And I went down that rabbit hole, and I found out that he actually did. He warned everybody, this is what they're going to do. Okay, come forward in time, and you have people like Dr. Stephen Greer. People go, oh, that guy's a nutball. He is. He's a little eccentric. He doesn't like people touching him. Whoa, get away from me.
Oh, yeah.
He is like that. He wanted me to be his personal secretary. He did. He wanted me to go on travel with him. And I would have jumped at the chance. I think it was because the Portal to Ascension guys floated my name to him. I don't know how he got my name. He got my email address and sent me an email. and I was like, I can't. I'm taking care of my mother, which I still am. She has Alzheimer's, and I'm her caregiver, so I couldn't travel around. Or otherwise I would have, because I admire him. I love his work. And it would have got my foot in the door a lot faster doing that with him. And then the guys from Portal to Ascension wanted me to travel with them and MC all of their events. Neil and I are buds, and you know, and he I just told him when he was on my show, for the anniversary show, and that was the first time I actually said to him out loud, and I did it on air, that the only reason that I do this is because of him. I interviewed him and his wife, and they convinced me to continue doing this.
Yeah.
Telling me, dude, you got the voice, you got the questions, you have the knowledge, you need to do this. And I said, okay, I should give it a try, and here I am. So he wanted me to travel around with them as well and MC all the groups and go to work for Portal to Ascension.
Cool.
And I was already doing stuff for him in the background, doing their webinars when he couldn't. He'll call me up, dude, I'm on a plane. You know, he did that one time. I'm going to be taking a plane and my show's supposed to start, and I got delayed. The plane's not going to land in time. Can you run the webinar? Sure.
Yeah,
I'll hop on the
when you
webinar
guys
and I
were
run
on
his webinar
Spreaker
for him.
together.
He shows
Yeah.
up when he gets in the hotel. And I'm going to be interviewing for him. They have a big event. Omar is going to be a part of it as well. They have a big event coming up this October, and I'm going to interview some people on their webinar for them, and Omar is going to do the same thing.
Awesome.
So we do that stuff because we get to promote ourselves as well. Because
Sure.
I'm a like you. We're a commodity.
Exactly.
We're a brand, right? We're
Yeah,
a brand.
Yep.
I'm doing a show coming up in next month on Ancient Aliens Worldwide. I'm going to plug that show right now. We're having what is his name? Jem Penningston, the guy that was in Rendlesham Forest, who was in the Air Force at the time when that whole thing happened, and there was a U.S. Spacecraft, and he went and touched it, and he got all the binary code in his head, and he didn't know what it was, and finally he wrote it all down, and they decoded it.
Right.
And he's been on Ancient Aliens on the television show, and he's been on all kinds of other shows investigating that. We're going to have him live on Ancient Aliens Worldwide in August, and we already have the memes up, so go to Ancient Aliens Worldwide, and you'll see that. I'm producing that, and Mandy's going to host it, and she has a whole panel that's going to be asking questions. And her and I got into it because I wanted to promote it under Orion Rising. And she said, you're just using that to promote your group or your page. I'm like, absolutely I am. I'm like, I'm a brand. I'm like, I'm not going to produce this on a platform that I created. I'm not going to produce a show for you and not get credit for it.
Right.
I'm not going to do that. That's people pay money for me to produce their shows.
Yeah.
And now I'm producing a show for you for free that's huge. Right? And I said, she goes, I don't want you using Orion Rising. I said, then I'm going to use my name, my company name. And she's like, what's your company name? I said, Leonard O'Neill Investing. She goes, I'll take that. But I didn't. I cut it down to just Leonard O'Neill Presents.
Hey.
Right?
All right.
So she was like, all right, I'll take that. And I'm like, okay. So, but that still shorts me because people don't realize that they do. I'm the producer. Leonard O'Neill Presents, right? Ancient Aliens Worldwide, hosted by Mandy Wilson. And we're going to have Jem Penningston on there, and he's going to talk about Rendlesham Forest and everything that happened there. So look for that, guys. That's huge, right? We just had Ed Edwards, who was also on Ancient Aliens, and I'm working on Nick Pope.
Wow.
Or she's working on Nick Pope. I floated it to her and said, you know what, I'd love to have Nick Pope on. And she said, I'll work on him tomorrow. I said, start. So she's working on Nick Pope. We're going to try and get him to come on. I don't know when that'll happen. Hopefully we can do it for my birthday, right? Not my birthday, 'cause my birthday's in September, but the birthday for the Ancient Aliens Worldwide. So that would be cool, right?
Yeah, it would. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll have to come on and start a watch party. I love when you do that, by the way. When you start a watch party, because you guys don't realize, but Clarence and I do. If I'm live on Orion Rising and then I post it somewhere and he starts a watch party, say in his group, anything that is typed in his chat comes to the chat that I have the feed for.
Right.
So all chats are combined.
Yep.
And so I love that because it'll show, like when he types something, it'll say sharer because you shared a watch party. So I know you started a watch party, and Clarence is really good at doing that. And so does, who else does that? There's a couple of guys out there that do it a lot. Omar does it for you. I try to do it for you guys when you guys are live, and I know about it. Right?
Yep. It's pretty cool.
So I do that for Rob, and he was like, oh, how do you do that? And I'm like, Facebook has it hooked up when you start a watch party and invite people, it automatically puts all the chats together. That's just like here. You're on Facebook on many different channels and many different groups in Facebook, and all the chats come in here.
Right.
The only thing is that for some reason, StreamYard, you have to give them permission to show your name, so some people don't. Right?
Yeah, I don't know what is up. I never knew that until recently. They started doing that, I guess, for whatever reason. I don't know what the deal is.
Yeah, because
Something to do with
when I do it
Facebook,
on any
I don't
other
know.
platform, they don't require it. So it's StreamYard that had it required. Yeah, Omar, he doesn't like him and Mandy got into it. He doesn't like. He just said in the chat, "I'll tell her to go f herself." Go fook herself, he put. Go fook herself.
sounds like
Who's
Omar.
this fooking guy? Right? I love that from that's like the
funny.
Irish accent. You have that guy Conor McGregor, the world champion MMA fighter. I love him to death. He's from Ireland, and because of his Irish accent, he talks like that. And he's like, "Who's that fucking guy?" Right? So they do that on a shirt, and it shows a picture of his face, and right below it says, "Who's that fucking guy?" Just like Omar typed in there, "Fook."
That's funny.
Because that's the Irish accent. Who's that fucking guy, right? Fucking guy. Get it past the that's like saying, different words that you can get past the censors. There was a movie, comedy, Johnny Dangerously, that came out in the 80s. And they did a great job of getting everything past the censors. So did Battlestar Galactica with Frack. Right, frack that, frack you,
Frack that, yeah,
and
right.
Felderkarp. That's all Felderkarp.
Frickin' frack.
But the guys in the comedy, that one was even better. He said Fargan. That's a Fargan trick question. You Fargan ice holes. I'm going to take your bells and I'm going to nail them to the wall. And Vermin Maroney, he was a gangster, and he did all
Funny
this
stuff.
all this stuff with all the. And then it was funny because right after he got done going through that whole spiel, never said a real cuss word. He walks away, and the one guy looks at the other guy and goes, "Man, look at the mouth on that guy." So it's cool the way you get things past the censor, but sometimes they do that. I
Exactly.
know this has nothing to do with anything, guys out there in the crowd,
Yeah.
but there was a movie called Repo Man, and it had both of the Estevez brothers, Emilio
Yes.
Estevez and Charlie Sheen, and they were repossessing cars, and they cussed like every other word was motherfucker, fuck you, motherfucker, and all this shit.
Yep.
On television, they censored it. And what they did was every time they said motherfucker, it came through melon farmer. You flipping melon farmer. Flip
Right.
you melon farmer. I love that.
Oh, it's
I
funny.
love that. I almost died.
Funny. Well, look, Leo, it's around 2.5 hours for us. just
Yeah,
about,
we
buddy.
should probably call. I'm
So,
starving
yeah.
to death over here. I haven't eaten dinner. I gotta
Yep.
check on my mom, make sure I didn't think we were gonna go this long. I thought an hour.
Oh, hey,
I had
first
people that
night
said,
back,
"How
I'm
long are you gonna
glad.
be on the air? I want to talk to you afterwards." And I was like, "Oh, about an hour, maybe an hour and a half." Here we are, 2.5 hours later.
Right. Hey, that's what happens when you get on these shows, man. I tell you,
Right.
a lot of things to talk about, you know.
Well, I have to
Good
watch
stuff.
my clock and be my own producer and go hard break to
Right.
1 hour
Yep,
for
yep.
for my shows. I try to come down to 1 hour, and that's it. Because I used to go, remember we used to go 3 hours. Omar and I would talk for
absolutely.
3 hours.
Don't even think
Nobody
twice
wants to
about
stay
it.
on there that long. I mean,
Yeah.
our audience has gotten down to 7, 8 people. Right? They're like, "Oh my God, you guys are long-winded. I'm going to bed."
Yeah, right. Yep. Yep. They're kicking
All right. Well,
off.
you know what, Clarence? Thank you. I'm honored that you got back on the air and that you had the big four, all of us together.
Yes.
We're calling Rob one of the big four already, but I'm sure he's going to be. Some
Right.
people out there are going to go, "Wait a minute, he's new. I'm bigger than him." For now,
For now, yeah.
Rob's
For
a
now.
juggernaut, man. He's a talker and he's good at it.
He is.
If you haven't seen his
absolutely.
show, he's got charisma, he's got style, and he's got that accent.
Yep.
Right? He's got that accent.
Yeah,
So
he's
he's
on it.
down, and he's going to be one of the big four. And he's got plans. I've talked to him. He's got some good plans for stuff. He's already changing the formats, like what we did here.
Right.
Right? The panel that we did here, we did the exact same thing on his show earlier this week.
Yes.
And it works, man. I don't do that very often like that. Remember I used to have guests every other day. I had to back off. It was just too much for me to do as many shows as I was doing. So I
Right.
cut it down to 3, and now I'm really down to, I do the news impromptu, I pop live, and then otherwise the scheduled show is Friday night.
Friday
Law
night.
of One. That's it.
Right.
It's just right now with what's going on, I have to focus on, fighting this war. So that's become everything. I'm type 2 diabetic. I'll say this real quick and then we'll go. Type 2 diabetic, and my blood sugar got out of control and I didn't know it. Wasn't paying attention, right? And so I went and got tested and it was at 200.
Ooh.
And that was the average, which means it was higher and lower. But it was
Right.
200. And then I looked at my tester. I hadn't tested my blood since March.
Wow.
Yeah.
Leo, what are you
I
doing?
stopped because every day, all day was research. And then because I'm part of the coalition that's part of the coalition, I had to talk to coalition members because these Republicans were scared to death. You don't know how much talking they had to have been done to them to keep them in line. And, and I'm in communication with the Trumps, right? I send emails to Junior. Actually, I send more to Eric than Junior. But for some reason, people give me shit. I get emails to contact people that I have no idea where they came from. I just have it. The same thing happened during Bush Jr.'s election when I had all of back then I was still doing IRA stuff, so I had everybody's email address. Right. And I had everybody's email address, everyone's, and including the president and Bush and everybody. And I got the information that came to me, and I think it was from Q before Q was Q. All of a sudden, somebody decided to give me the information. It may have been the IRA. I don't know. I don't know the source. They gave me this information that said, the president, that George Bush Jr. needs to read this and not concede the election. There's still more ballots that haven't been counted, that are being kept away from being counted on purpose because they're mostly Republican numbers that haven't come in Florida. I forwarded that to the Colin Powell. I had his email address. I forwarded it to the White House, to George Bush Sr., George Bush Jr. I had all of their email addresses. And at the time, he was about to call Al Gore and say, okay, you won, I give up.
Right.
And I emailed them watching television live, and then all of a sudden they were like, oh, we don't know what's going on. Bush was supposed to come out and give his concession speech and call Al Gore, and he was on the phone with Al Gore, and he was starting to concede, and someone in the background said, hold on a minute. And then he said, hold on a second. And then he said, you know what? No, I'm not going to concede. This is national news. They talked about it. And Al Gore said, hey, wait a minute. You were just going to concede. What's the crap, bub? And he said, hey, don't get snippy with me.
Yeah.
Remember that? That was told. Don't get snippy with me. I'm not conceding. And he hung up on him. So he was pissed off because then he was going, what the hell's his gig? That's why he sued and had them count it and count it and recount it and recount it and recount it and recount it. Because he was pissed off because they were supposed to steal the election. And then people said that Junior stole the election. Now, I believe that was stolen by the cabal, now that I know what I know.
Yeah,
okay, but Al Gore wasn't any different. He's just another cousin. So, but for some reason, somebody wanted to push Junior, and it might have been Senior, and they gave me the information, and who knows who else got the same information, and enough of us mailed the stuff in. It's just like when Donald Trump was arguing with Hillary Clinton in 2016. I emailed not Junior, but Eric, because he sent me an email. So I sent the email to him and said, tell your father to stop. Hooperus is not your father's friend. Tell him to stop getting caught in a battle with that woman and act presidential. Now, I don't know who else told him that, but a lot of people must have, because the very next time he came out from that point on, he was no longer the combative guy getting egged into a fight with Hillary. He stayed presidential from that point on, that won in the election. Wow. I said, you have him do that, he's going to win the election. Well, other people were calling for it too, so I'm not saying I personally was responsible for that. I don't say that I was personally responsible for changing those elections, but people like me must have been saying the same things, and enough of that got to them. Same thing with Anthony Fauci. Okay, when Donald Trump had him talking every day, and I'm like, that guy is the cabal, man. He's lying. And I got the video from that woman who claimed he was the whistleblower who Obama put in jail for blowing the whistle. She had the cure for AIDS. They took it from her, and they didn't give it to her, and they took it and made a vaccine that they use today for AIDS patients.
Right.
Okay, and she went to jail. Barack Obama put her in jail because she whistleblew. He put every whistleblower in jail, every single one. And there was, I've seen the videos, I've seen their movies, ruining their lives and putting them in jail because they were telling on the government for doing secret shit and doing heinous shit. So she came out, and then they claimed she was this nutball crazy lady. I sent that video to Eric Trump. The next day, Donald Trump came out and said, Dr. Fauci and Deborah, what's her name, will no longer be coming out here doing the press briefings.
Right.
And I can't take credit for, I'm the only one who told him that, but I'll bet you everyone, when that thing went viral, everybody in his circle said, have you seen this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So,
Awesome.
all right, anyway.
Yes.
So, guys, thanks for staying this long. I apologize for running my mouth off here, Clarence. But you know what? This is what I do. It's been my life. I just didn't have a talk show. I did things behind the scenes. I was like the Anons. Wasn't Q, but I was the anonymous.
Right.
And that's the shit that I've done my whole life. And, not just being the silent majority. I was those guys hacking into computers and doing stuff until they closed off the internet, and then we found other ways. And, I was part of the information that got put together for all this pedophile stuff to bring this stuff to light. I was working on that, working the case. I
There
was
you go. Yep.
And there's more to come, guys. There's pictures that you haven't seen yet with Hillary Clinton over in Dude's house, and Bill Clinton hugging that same little blonde girl that the prince screwed. Those
Yeah.
pictures haven't made it out here to the public yet, but I've seen them 3 years ago when we
Crazy
put them all
stuff.
together. They're there. They just haven't played it yet. So after the election, Donald Trump wins. You're going to start seeing a lot more people get arrested, because right now they're going to claim no matter what he does, they're claiming it's politics because he's trying to win the election.
Well,
So
they just
that's
had
why,
evidence
know-
that showed Bill Clinton as a guest with Epstein.
Yeah, that's what I was talking
So,
about. I've
yeah.
seen the photos where he was standing
Yeah.
in that house, the same room, hugging that same blonde girl that
Crazy.
the prince they showed and outed the prince for having sex with her. I don't know
Right.
if Clinton had sex with her, but he was hugging that same girl and others. And there's also pictures of him that I've seen where he's on that aircraft that they talk about his Wonder Flight or whatever it is. So there's a lot of that, and I knew about Tom Hanks and the glove thing that Omar was talking about. I've seen all those pictures. Some of them did come out not too long ago, and he defended that by saying it's just my hobby. But I heard from like Chappie, like I said before, he supposedly forced himself off a bridge, and other people that are on the insiders that have said he's a pedophile. It's unfortunate, but they get a hold of you, and they tell you they're going to wreck your career if you don't they blackmail you basically. And then when you
Right.
do what they want you to do and they punk you in, they blackmail you with that. And now you've raped some little baby and killed some little baby, and they film it. So now you're theirs forever. And that's why these people go crazy. Like, you have like Katy Perry, who had a breakdown and said, that was the person I had to be rich, and I'm not going to do that anymore, and I'm going to do whatever I want. And you have
Right.
other people who change genres, and like Taylor Swift, who comes out and says, there's people who try to take credit for all your stuff, and everybody thought she was talking about Kanye. She wasn't talking about Kanye.
No.
She wasn't. She was talking about the cabal. She refused. And look at people like, what's her name, Britney Spears. She lost her fucking mind over it, and now she's not producing any music. Her son said, "Mom, why aren't you writing music? You make a shit ton of money at that." And she says, I don't know if I'm ever going to do that again.
Right.
Why do you think that happened? Because not because she had they always go, oh, she's nuts. She's got a bipolar. And well, I think
Right.
some of that stuff drives you to that when you know what those people know and what they're going through.
Sure.
Drives you to that.
A lot
So,
of stress.
it takes somebody that is, all the stuff that I know, when I tell people that they either shut off and say, dude, it can't be like that. Because they're afraid now. If it is like that, the world is really, really fucked up.
Yeah.
Well, it is.
It is. Yeah.
It is. And they can't hide anymore.
Yep.
There's too many of us that are positive. There's too many of us that are raising vibration of the planet. And we're doing that for the good of the people, to wake everybody
Absolutely.
up that you're not a slave labor race. You never have been. You were
Nope.
created by the one true creator, whatever you want to name it. God, Methuselah, whatever you want to say.
Whatever. Yeah.
Okay? The entity that created all of us created us, and it wasn't a petri dish with a bunch of aliens. It just wasn't. And that's a gaslight that the Orion Crusaders, who are a group from the Orion Nebula, who are trying to take over this planet by proxy. They get everybody here gaslight you to believe that you're a slave labor race, and they just show up and go, we're the ones who created you.
Right.
I can show you 5 different incidents where 5 different races have said they were our creator gods. Watch the movie The Fourth Kind.
Yeah.
Okay, and that was an evil gray who said, I created you, I can do whatever I want with you.
Right.
That's another gaslight. That movie didn't really happen in real life. That movie was made up. It was
Right.
a what if.
Right.
And if you don't believe me, get the DVD. Get the
the
DVD with the
very
extended
end.
version and watch
Yes.
where they were filming
Yep,
the
at the
supposed
very end of the
scenes that
CD.
were,
Yep.
yeah, they were trying to tell you that all these cameras that were caught on was the real people
Yep.
and these real cameras. Then why do they have the filming of that? Ready?
Yep.
Action.
Yeah.
I saw that stuff on the DVD. So that whole thing was made up. However, did an incident happen like that there? Yes.
Yes.
In Nome, Alaska, it is absolutely true that there are more UFO sightings and people saying that they were abducted than anywhere else in the United States. So the basis of it is true, but it's like a Dan Brown or a Leonard O'Neill. It's a what if that stuff's really true, and I'm going to write that story
Right.
and say it's true. I wrote this and found out that it was true. Okay, so everything that's happening in there in my book really happens in real life. There really is a war going on right now that you're unaware of, and I'm writing that book, The War That We Fight, The Secret War We Fight. There's several wars going on right now that you guys don't know that we're fighting over the humanity and the minds of the human race. And there's aliens here bad ones and good ones that are helping. And you
Yep.
don't know because they look just like us. But they're from off-world. 25% of the known universe is human,
Yep.
bipedal. Some of them are blue. Some of them are orange. Some of them are red. You can ask Corey Good. He's seen them.
Yeah.
He's worked with them, right? So the people are out there, but there's people that discredit you. As soon as you start getting discredited, right now nobody's discrediting me, but eventually I'm going to get enough listeners to people are going to go, that guy is a crackpot and a liar, made it all up, didn't do any of
It's
that.
going to happen. Yeah.
Bob Lazar, I call that the Bob Lazar. You got Bob Lazar. That's what they did to him. Back in the 80s, he came out and he said, the government's
Still
got
doing it.
UFOs, and I worked there, and I reverse engineered UFOs, and I worked with this stuff, and I had this particle, 115, that was un pentium. And the government said, we don't know who that guy is. He's never worked for us. He's never gone to any of the schools that he said he went to. He's a lunatic, and he needs to be locked up in a loony bin. And then in 2015, that same federal government came out and said, we discovered a new particle on the table of elements,
Yeah,
number
the
115,
yeah.
and it's called un pentium. 35 fucking years later, we invent the same thing that he, crazy guy, thought up in his head.
Hey,
Come
element
on,
115. Yeah.
Okay, so now I've taken us another 15 minutes. I apologize. All right, guys,
Hey, it's
I'm going to
okay.
stop talking. You can find my show at Orion Rising on Facebook or on Orion Rising on YouTube. Like my show. Tune in on Fridays. We talk about spiritualism. Any other time I go live with Orion Rising News. Don't watch it if you don't want to hear politics and get pissed off.
There you go. Awesome.
Okay, guys, have a great night. Clarence, again, thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me on. Anytime you want to have me on, just let me know. If I'm not already doing something, buddy, I'll come on your show and talk
Absolutely.
anytime. All right?
Absolutely.
Okay, guys, thank you. Have a good night.
Okay. Well, with that being said, I want to thank you all, everybody, for showing up here and being here. You guys are a hell of a group. I love you guys. And, you know, it's good to be back. I tell you, things happen, you know, in real life. It is what it is, right? But, yeah, thank you all for being here. And, you know, it's just, it's really a pleasure for putting on these shows. I'm going to be on with Rob Sunday. I'm sure there'll be a lot of postings about it and stuff with the time and stuff, but I think it's around 5:30 or 6:30 Eastern time. I'm not sure. I think it's 6:30 Eastern time, give or take. So, but anyway, yeah, I'm going to be his guest on his show. So we'll see how that goes, but it should be a lot of fun. And, you know, we'll be talking about my abduction case and stuff like that. So, you know, pretty cool stuff. But in the meantime, you know, it was great seeing everybody, and I'm glad you all are doing well. And, you know, like I said, I love you for being here. Thank you very much. So in the meantime, please be safe. We'll catch you again. I want to thank you all for listening to Closer Encounters. Please remember to like, follow, and share. And until we meet again, keep your eyes to the skies. Thank you.